it's a line in the dirt, and every time you blow, you're crossing that line, and every time you cross that line, you're brushing the dirt off, and then you get a really good idea where that line is, and then when you're racing, you can just walk right up to it and just stay really close to it.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Last Row Counts. Today's guest is the face of edge rowing. Please welcome Jug Burns to the podcast.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming up. You've met
Across,
us,
kind of.
met us in the middle, or not quite the middle, but you come up here. Shout out to Colin Williamson who sorted this remote for us at Edinburgh Uni, which is really cool. I spoke to him this morning and I said, "You're next, mate. Next time we come up, we're going to grab him.
He'd be I think he'd be a really good guest as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this one's going to be good. I mean, we spoke in the past a bit about wanting to help other athletes promote what they're doing. And obviously what you're doing we'll get into in a bit, which is going to be really fun and have that kind of crossover into business. We've had a few Olympians talk about their rowing journey, but it's going to be really interesting to get into life after rowing, which is something we've talked about.
And we've also done like some other like rowing businesses like Allmark One, etc.
Okay,
and I'm not sure how much we can promote you. Like your platform's bigger than us.
I was right there. Absolutely. Yeah, I think cross networking is like always the best, isn't it?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get going.
Yeah. So I guess obviously generally we start with how you got into rowing in the first place. Let's start there.
Yeah, so kind of maybe a brief background for like how I got into sports, like relatively got into it kind of late, like at 11. Always was quite obsessive as a kid, so like before 11 it was kind of like Lord of the Rings was my thing, which I kind of saw a bit like a sport maybe. Like that seems sort of like, I don't know, like war, but like when you're a kid, you know, in my head anyways, and like glamorizing it. But when I was 11, I saw the Flames, who's the Calgary Flames, the city I was living in Canada, that hockey team, go on a playoff run, and like our whole neighborhood and stuff like that just got super into it, and it was just a really awesome like introduction into sport. And then in Canada, like it's pretty rare if you don't play hockey. So from 11 until like maybe 15 or 16 until I moved over to Scotland, I was playing hockey over there, and then played a bit over here in the UK. And things were changing. I was leaving high school, got into university, just didn't have the passion for hockey anymore. Took a year off to do some teenager things, went partying and stuff, got bored of it pretty quickly. And then I saw the London Olympics, and I always like fancied being a professional athlete and getting paid to do a sport. And then I saw the London Olympics, and I saw Helen Glover and Heather Stanning win gold in the pair. And I heard that Helen Glover had picked up the sport 4 years prior to winning gold at like 21 or 22.
Wow.
So it was pretty inspiring. And then I kind of just thought, why not me? Quickly got very obsessed into it. And I found out that you quote, maybe like you need to be tall to be good at it was kind of some of the first things that you hear. So I was like searching everybody's heights and stuff like that and trying to figure out if I was tall enough. But according to the internet, I wasn't. I was just like 6'1", so not short, but short for a rower. I just got massively obsessed into it. Loved the hard work of it.
Where were you rowing? Where did you start?
Well, I first started at Strathclyde University.
Nice.
Shout out Strathy. And then I got into the START program.
Yeah.
And I was literally like, it's kind of, I knew I had to be 188 centimeters, and I knew I was like 186, but then one morning I measured myself and I was 187 and a half, and I was like, oh, I can do this. And then got my dad to like, figured out it's because my spine was compressing and stuff, and like had my breakfast lying down. And like got my dad to drive me to the testing, like with the seat reclined, and then I was still just under it, but like I did well enough on some of the other like cardio tests and stuff like that. And like arm span, I've got a weirdly long arm span and stuff, but not trying to make it, I don't want to start and be like it's all about like your metrics and stuff. It's totally not, but at that point that's what I thought. Then I got into the START program, and there's pretty good support through that coming from, if you're not in maybe the Thames Valley, starting off with. There's decent support and stuff and a decent network, but that was kind of the start.
You're not really the first person to come into the GB team from the start program. We spoke with Vicki Filney recently, and she also like got into rowing in the first place, like through the start program.
Yeah.
And also had those exact same like thoughts with like being like, am I tall enough? Am I going to go lightweight or something? Yeah. I'm 187 and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm just under like 188. So we got the same problem.
Nice, yeah.
And just going into Leander, just got a massive short person complex because everyone around me is like, this guy is 6'8".
Posture improves pretty quickly, doesn't it? You're like, oh, hello guys.
All the core.
Yeah.
One of Dave Bell's nicknames was Shorty, and I think he's 6'1".
Yeah.
Just shows you how ridiculous it is.
It is. Yeah. And at the time, the start thing was like obsessed with like the taller the better. So all the guys were like 6'9" and 6'11" and stuff like that. Oh. They're tall. Yeah.
So continued up in Scotland, but as part of the start program, you traveling down south for camps, Nottingham camps and things.
So I had like massively like got into it, really obsessed about it, like proper just like would go home and like type rowing into YouTube and just watch videos for like hours.
Nice.
Yeah, and then like go to uni sometimes. But I kind of I got a bad back injury pretty early. So from hockey, I think I was pretty fit and like had strong legs, but no core and no mobility. So got sciatica like 9 months in. I was progressing quite quickly, and I think within a year or two, I was showing signs I could maybe get an under 23 vest or maybe challenge for one. I was like 19 at the time, and then really bad back injury. A year and a half out. That was like kind of a fairly big blow for me. Like really, like I was only like 9 months in, and I had this really bad back injury, and it just got worse when I stopped rowing as well. Like it was progressing, walking became quite bad and stuff like that. Hips just got worse and worse, and I was like watching people row, and I'm like, I can't even sit in a rowing machine for like 2 minutes, and they're doing like months and months and months of 100, 150k plus. I'm like, how I could just not see myself getting back to that point. So it was a pretty low point actually.
Were you? Did you do the 2013 Sculling Festival?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
I was there.
Yeah, I think I might, because you're recognizable. Like I think like I remember seeing like probably.
Do you remember
with the Leander guys?
I don't know if we told it on the.
No.
So 6 of us didn't make the senior team in 2013. So it was 6
John
guys.
Collins was there as well. I remember. I was like, what the hell is he doing here? Yeah. I was like, go away.
Yeah, it was. We were like, oh, come on, it's not fair. We had to go and do it.
Yeah, Shep really wanted people to do it, didn't he?
So we did the first time trial, and we finished like the time trial, and I was like waiting to get in. There's like a queue to get in on the landing stage.
Yeah.
And I'd take my feet out, I was just sat there waiting my feet out, and I was like, oh, fuck's sake, what a queue. Went to like lean back in the boat like you would if you got your feet in, forgetting my feet are out, and I just rolled out the side of the boat and fell in. And Steve Gunn comes up to me after and was like, oh, Tom, thanks for doing that. I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, I've got a load of athletes here like really nervous about being here with the senior team, but you've just fallen in.
Nice.
They're all feeling a lot more confident now. I was like, thanks, Steve. Leave me alone.
I was doing the maneuverability test, which was that you row one direction and then you have to go around. You're going side by side with somebody, so it's like you row one direction and then back it down the other way, and then you have to maneuver through the buoys or whatever that they had set up, and I was so bad at it. I was so bad. And like I went side by side with Fraser Christie. I remember.
Oh yeah, shout out Fraser.
He friggin' took off so quickly and like was miles ahead of me, like halfway around the course, and I was barely on like the first thing, and then he fell in. I was like, yes, I've got it. And then I was like, but still kept going slowly, got in front of him. He was getting back in the boat, and then he got back in the boat and nearly caught me on the line. I was like, he nearly beat me in a maneuver.
Did you do all those like the little tricks?
The standing rigger?
I can't do any of it. So I snapped my rigger doing it.
Nice.
And then I was like, I didn't want to do those. I'd never done any. I was never good in the single. I was like, I'm not doing it. And then John Collins was like, don't worry, you can borrow my boat. And then the coaches were like, well, you got to go out there. And then it's like me on the landing stage, and like all the coaches just stood there laughing because I cannot do anything. John's like, you can fall in, I don't care, do it. And I was like, I can't do any of this. I'm so frustrated. Like, stop like whipping me. I was always out of my depth in the single. If sweep didn't exist, I never would have got anywhere.
Don't say that.
Yeah,
you never know.
Maybe.
There's been some big scullers that are.
It wasn't my thing. But go on then. So through the injury, it's a lonely thing, isn't it? A lot of training on your own. Like you said, watching people step on, feeling stuck there.
Yeah, and I like kind of went back into some of my old ways as well. Like I started going out partying like every weekend and stuff, and kind of went back down that path. And like my back wasn't getting any better, so I justified it to myself that that would be fine. But yeah, and then I kind of carried that mindset with me when my back did start to get better. So it took loads and loads and loads of work. Like I literally, kind of one thing that always drove me was like the fear of regret and the fear of looking back and saying, well, if I spent a bit more time stretching or a bit more time doing mobility or strengthening, whatever, would I have been able to improve my back to get back to rowing? So I was like, I just never wanted to put myself in that my future self in that position. So yeah, I was like literally like Pauline and I had met in like 2012 or 2013. So we were together at that point. She probably remembers me. Like literally, if I was not walking, I was stretching. So like I was in lectures stretching. I was like cooking my dinner stretching. Like sitting on the couch stretching, and sleeping as well. I wouldn't stretch my sleep. But those are like the only two times. And over I was training. But yeah, you get the point.
Our coach told us once of I think it was like originally came from cycling. It was like the postal US postal team or something. They were like, when like during the tour, there are two rules: if you're standing up, sit down; if you're sitting down, lie down.
Yeah, isn't that like
if you're not on your bike, you're on the floor.
Yeah, is that not from like World War II or something like that? Or
Possibly,
maybe a Band of Brothers
back, yeah.
or like Pacific or something like that HBO. But I mean, that was probably filmed after the US Postal Service, so maybe. Who knows?
I mean, it's completely underestimated stretching, isn't it? We don't do enough. It's always the first thing to go when you start to get busy.
Yeah,
get your big sessions in, you get your weights in. Have I got time to stretch?
Yeah, it's one of the easiest ways to improve your rowing outside of the boat. I bet people in lectures must have been looking at you. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell is this guy doing?
Also, yeah, because my hip, like you know, when you stretch your glutes, like if you have flexibility, it can maybe. Oh, sorry, it should look like you're just like relaxing with your. But like with me, my leg was like boom, like up there, like I was like kind of like trying to push it down because it was so bad, but. Yeah, I'm sure. And I had to work on my posture as well, like so much. And I remember some people sitting behind me. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't live in regret. I got to do this. Yeah, I can't say that to them.
Well, you must have been like really committed into rowing right from the start. If like that short and you have an injury and like you're literally so determined to like make it back.
But that's what you need to do. I like that. I showed Pete the other day. John Collins has a great video of him sculling up his Silveretta, and it's got the Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I showed that when I saw that's a sick video. Yeah,
where he's like, to the regular person, you will look like you've gone insane.
Basically, I've lost my mind.
Yeah, if you are pursuing something to a high level, I would say one of the first markers to know that you're getting somewhere is people will be like, really? You're going to do another gym? What are you doing? Like, why don't you come for a beer? Like, that's actually, don't take that as a negative. Be like, oh, I'm actually on the path now. I'm actually kind of sticking my head up above what other people maybe think.
Going against the current.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it just came down to like what I really wanted as well. Like it was just like I was happy to dedicate that, and I always loved the process, and I just loved the obsession with it. Like I'm a very obsessive person, so like I just love being fixated and hyper focused on something. Like that's just really exciting for me. But yeah, it was. I remember I had one friend who was like, he's like, Jack, you're taking the piss with like how much you're rowing and stuff, because it would be like one weekend I wouldn't come out, second weekend I wouldn't come out, and he's like, you're right, everybody has their sports, but this is too much. And I was like, so yeah, safe to say I'm not friends with that guy anymore. You know, you have like, of course, like plenty of my friends and stuff they have the normal lifestyles, and they're totally supportive of it. But there was one that was like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing this, and I was like,
I had a girlfriend at school who was like, this wearing stuff's getting ridiculous. It's me or wearing.
Yeah,
and I was like,
if that cool.
Yeah, that's the thing with Pauline as well. Like she was super supportive with it. Like never felt like that ever. So. Yeah.
If you're on the way where you're trying to get somewhere where no one else is trying to get to, you got to be ruthless about cutting people off as well. Like if like you don't align with my future, I'm sorry, but you don't belong. And that might be sad, but you know, from time to time we can still kick it about, have a laugh. But I need to like choose what's best for me and
like, prioritize yourself, haven't you? And like I think I've said it before, but Anne Redgrave, when I was in the team doctor, like one of the best pieces of advice I had. And it seems really simple, but she was just like, you're the only person that's looking after just you.
Yeah.
Like all these coaches, not trying to mess you up or get you injured, but they're trying to look after everyone.
Yeah.
And you're the only one that's looking after you. And like, you've just got to remember that.
Yeah. And that was one thing. Yeah. I don't know if you know James Temple. He was a lightweight. He's a good friend of mine. He he was like just one of the most ridiculously dedicated people I've ever, and like lucky to train with him because it helped me raise my game. But that's one thing he said, like even when we're at Edinburgh and stuff, and Colin's like an amazing coach and stuff, you know, like if you want to get to your full potential, then nobody can care about it more than you, and like your coach will care, and if you want to fulfill that, then it has to be you that drives it the most. And that's one thing as well, I think nobody will understand kind of what you've been through more than you as well, like despite people being so close to you, I don't think anybody will. So I think your validation has to come from yourself and being able to like recognize what you've done to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I remember like when I got my first GB vest as well, a massive thing that I've been working towards, and so proud of it. But I got like 40 like messages from a bunch of people like congrats. It was really nice, but at the same time I was also quite close to quitting, and I was like, if I had quit, like I wouldn't have gotten the recognition from other people. But for me, what I did, the achievement was the training before that to get to that point.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it was slightly hollow in a way.
Yeah.
It was still really nice, and I was appreciated it. But I was like, you know, made me realize you have to recognize what you've done to get somewhere.
100%.
Yeah. So
cool. So coming in from world class start, you then made the move down to Leander?
No, I spent a lot of time up in Scotland. So yeah, a whole nother story, but I had my disagreements with the start coach there. I just didn't think they were very good, to be honest. But yeah, I was kind of fell off the tracks a little bit as well. So again, I had that mindset of like, because I had success early, I was like, if it's my back that gets better, then I'll be fine. Like I'll just be back on that progress track. And I kind of lost that edge when I came back. And yeah, I was unsurprisingly like was just getting destroyed, like missing training all the time, using my back as an excuse when it was fine, saying itchy throat and stuff, which of course you should if you're not well or a sore back. But in my case, it wasn't true. And yeah, I spent a couple of years with a really, really bad mindset. Like wasn't pushing myself hard, wasn't training consistently. And it took me a long time to kind of come out of that. And I think you should always try and improve it regardless of where you are. But at that point, it was like, it was so bad. Yeah, it was terrible. And like I got what I deserved at trials and stuff. Like I was last place by 2 minutes at a lot of like the trials and stuff, like just getting destroyed by the people that I wanted to beat. So yeah, that was kind of, I'd moved to another coach for a while. I got dropped from the Scottish Institute of Sport, got dropped by that coach, which was fair enough as well, because I wasn't performing and my attitude was terrible. I was really lucky in 2016. I did a year with Strathclyde Uni, doing Henley and stuff. Go look up the 2016, the Prince Albert. We're the only crew in Henley ever to do a square blade start.
Nice.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, we did, because we did it in training once, and our start was terrible. We did the square blade start as a drill, and it was the best start we'd ever done ever. And then we're like, right, okay, let's bring that into the feathered start. And again, the feathered start was worse. And then we just did the square blade again. Again, start was perfect. So we just 3 blades square.
Yeah, just first 3.
Yeah, not the whole way.
That would have
been a flag.
3, 10, 15
to the end of the island.
I like it though. Like stick to your strengths.
Yeah, and it was there. But yeah, I had a great fun with that crew that year. But I was trying to get into the GB team and stuff. I had to like really prioritize it. Left uni. I always knew I wanted to go full time for a year and give it a crack. Because I still knew I had more potential, because the way I was training was just terrible. And luckily, like Richard Walsh, who's kind of this old school, one of these old school coaches, would just like literally take a bullet for you. Like, yeah, I've got them like tattooed on me as well. Like just like our group, like it's more a joke. It sounds a bit culty, but like I just like, we love Ricky. And he literally like, gave so much to us and stuff like. But it gave me a massive chance when no one else would, and just like sorted my mindset out, basically just toughened me up, and then started to show some success through 2016, 2017. He got me as fast as he could, and like on my own. It would then become a point if I needed to be in a competitive group. So 2018, 2019, I moved to Edinburgh. But yeah, Ricky was a volunteer as well, but he was literally like dedicated, like a full-time coach and stuff. So there's me doing some of the extra stuff. So it was always funny, like the emails that would get sent out at trials, and it was like head of Edinburgh, Colin Williamson, head of Brooks, whoever, head of Durham, whoever, Leander, and then it would be like me in the email chain with like all the coaches and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah,
nice,
try flying solo, but yeah, and then Edinburgh again, just kind of slowly progressed through Edinburgh and stuff. There was a really good group. I think, people at Leander would probably disagree, but at that point, 2018, 2019, I think there was the most competitive group of scullers outside of Caversham.
Was that still when Gavin was in Edinburgh?
Yeah.
Before you
do you know Gavin?
I was a junior at the same time as him, so
okay.
we were at the start line a few times together.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gavin, yeah. He was really good. There's a few other guys as well, like James Temple as well.
What we used to say about Gavin is that guy is like Jesus, because he just doesn't feel pain. He can just drive himself into such a hole that it's impossible. Like, I don't know. Like, if you ever like watch some of his races on like from Henley, etc., like, this guy's incredible. But shout out to Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll have him on one day.
Agree. The system here is awesome. Like, just walking through this place, like, you can't move for photos of vests from Edinburgh uni athletes. So
it's very inspirational.
Yeah, Colin. Yeah, and in 2014 as well. Like, Colin came in the kind of at the university. I think they were still somewhat competitive, but nowhere near like getting multiple GB under 23 senior vests. And Colin from 2014, it's like 2014, 2015, 2016. He had like 4 people doing GB under 23s and stuff. He just created like a really simple system. And I think, the 2 coaches I was really lucky to be coached by were Ricky and Colin. And anytime anybody like speaks to me and it's like, oh, Jack, I'm thinking about joining here. And I'm like, just do what they say. Just like, it's literally as simple as that. Don't think, what about my friggin' foot height or something like that? Like, no, just your coach says to push your hands down more here. Just do that. They know what they're doing. Your coach says, do this, the catch. Just do that. Your coach says, do these pieces. Just do it. Stop thinking. If you're lucky to be around a really good coach. Colin and Ricky were both like that. So
we've got athletes who like they come up, what else can I do? What else can I do? Like, what extra stuff can I do? Like, what extra session? Just do what I tell you. Please just do what I tell you.
Yeah.
Like, there's not like a million other things out there. Like,
do the basics well. Yeah, train consistently is if you're training consistently. When I was here, I was doing Colin's program, and there's a few of us who then started to do a good bit extra, but that was kind of led by Colin as well. But yeah, I mean, just turn up to Saturday pieces and just smash it and just pull hard and try and do 0.1% more every week and just do the training through the week, and you'll go fast.
Simple things first.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, so at this point, like through Edinburgh, you sort of getting noticed or still like pushing your way up?
Yeah. And like, that was, I missed under 23s because my back, and my mindset was pretty bad back then as well. And then, so I only got into the GB team when I was like 26 or 27, so very late for what they normally do. So it was harder to get invited to development caps as you'd expect, because I'm older. I've got less potential than someone the same speed of me who's 21. Gradually just started to, again, learning more things about mindset as well, pushing, getting a good trials performance I was happy with, resting on the laurels a little bit, sharpening sort of like my attitude towards training, just became more and more consistent. Had a decent erg, and then had to make the single faster, and eventually, the season of 2019, 2020, generally they look to take people in before the Olympics, the year before, especially when you don't have any international experience, which I hadn't. It was kind of like a lot. I really had to make a statement that basically COVID year, or COVID winter, whatever you want to call it. And 2019 November, I beat a few people in the team just at the bottom, and then same again in December, but didn't get invited to any of the testing and stuff, which I was really annoyed with. But you can also see it like they're starting to narrow in on decisions, not broaden it. And then Olympic trials and stuff, and missed the AB semis by like 0.02 or something like that. And it was like, again, that year the trials and the singles were insane. It was like it was like 2 seconds off like 5th or something, or 4th, and I was 13th. And I went off so hard as well, like, and then my last 500 was the slowest 500 out of all the singles, out of all the 500 sun. So I was,
you went for it.
I was like, gotta make it, because I was like, I need to win the time trial. I need to like be top 3 time trial, win the semi, win the final, if I want to like have any chance. Because Seb Devereaux, he went on, and I think he was 3rd in that trial, and they were like, no. Like, I think you need to win if you want to get in that late.
It's hard. When you're on the outside of that system, it's really hard to get in.
Yeah.
But then when you get in, I wouldn't say you're protected. I think I kind of do and don't agree with it. I've been on both sides at times. Mm-hmm. I think like you can't always be expected to perform at your absolute best all year. So once they've kind of said, right, we want to look at you, you're then kind of like given an opportunity. Mm-hmm. It's not like, you do well in one trial, you're in, and you do badly in the next trial and you're out. So I like the idea of like having that tight group, but I agree as well that sometimes it's like, what the hell do I have to do here to get in? Like I'm smashing all these guys.
Yeah. I remember Colin saying, I think after we were driving away from December trials, Colin was like, yeah, you can't knock on the door, you have to kick it down.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, okay, let's go. And then went off in the time trial of the Olympics final and just blew. I was trying to kick down the door a little too hard in the first 500 and then...
Sometimes that's what it takes. Like ultimately, like, you look at racing these days, it's quite often the crew that's willing to risk it the most.
Yeah.
And if you risk it, if you risk it to win, you also have the chance of losing. Like you look at some, like the 8 going out, say in Rio, just absolutely going blasting out and just being like, let's see if we can hang on.
Yeah.
And you can compare it to, I said, maybe like the 4 in Tokyo that absolutely risked it for the win, and it went badly at the end.
Yeah, I know that's the thing as well. That's what's such a shame I thought about that, the way it was handled, because for me as well, like having, not pushing myself hard in training, like feeling like there was a block. That was a big thing for me, is in training, like crossing that line a lot. And I always think about it like it's a line in the dirt, and every time you blow, you're crossing that line, and every time you cross that line, you're brushing the dirt off, and then you get a really good idea where that line is. And then when you're racing, you can just walk right up to it and just stay really close to it.
Yeah.
And I think if you're, especially in training as well, like in some groups I've been in, there's been, don't blow. You have to get faster every piece. You have to hit these standards. Like don't like fail. Like I remember, like one place I was training, it was bench pulls, and it was like, if you missed the last rep, then it didn't count. It was like, you need to hit it. So like, if you just did less weight and did all the reps, the coaches wouldn't pull you up for it. And I was like, how are we going to get better if we're afraid of failing, really, if we're trying to fit into this like performance metric? But
failure is such a big part of success. Like it's essentially building blocks. Yeah, exactly. Like you need to rack up all your like record of failures, etc., in order to like really get somewhere. It's kind of like your resume, isn't it?
Yeah. And the failure is, sorry, I knew you.
Yeah, I was just going to say like that resonates a lot. Like you fail, you go over the top, you blow, and you get closer and closer. And then like towards the end of my career, you have that ability to go out for 2K and just hold yourself absolutely like on the precipice of going over the top, but just stay there.
Yeah.
And like when we were coaching athletes and seeing athletes do quite well at 2Ks, but struggling with that third 500, not having that mental strength to like keep pushing, and realizing like, oh, it's not a natural thing that I've got. It's developed over years and years and years of being able to like put your hand in the fire and just be like, it's about there.
Yeah. And I think as well, like a lot of people go into expecting it to be perfect the first time as well. And they're like, they fear not pacing their 2K perfectly. And it's all you need to do is just 1%, like you're trying to drop time off your 2K, just like 1%, push yourself 1% faster every time. And then you do that enough times, like 10 times, and then you get confidence from it. Before you know it, you're just like, oh, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and often as well, like from coaching as well, like the experience, like the feardom of failure in high intensity, it can just be so demotivating for people because they're so scared if like, and then their body's default is just, well, I just won't do it, or I just will back off or find an excuse to not do it, which I think was the case for me when I was struggling with it. And I think that's something Ricky just, he was big on 3x4K, and he would just, you get to the top and he'd be like, right, just goes, right, Jack, go as hard as you can from the first stroke. Like just, and you just go, and you just listen to him, and then you blow and he's like, good. It's like, so, so.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're right. Like, without failure, without overstepping, you never know you never find out where the line is.
Yeah. And some systems as well, I think it's like, never do that. Like, I think that's bullshit.
Safe.
Yeah.
So didn't quite get the performance you wanted in that final Olympic trial.
Yeah.
And obviously lockdown.
Yeah. I went into lockdown and I was like, yes, because I'd spent a lot of time when I was with Edinburgh. When I was with Ricky, I spent a lot of time training on my own. When I was with Edinburgh, they were all literally here in this gym training, and I was in Glasgow, which is like 50 minutes away. So I just trained them, did all my land stuff by myself. So I spent loads of time training by myself and learned how to motivate myself and not be in a group, and rally off other people, and really, a lot of conversations with yourself. So I thought I was going to be really good at lockdown, but as soon as the wall got taken, the target got taken away, I was like, I was surprised with how hard I found it to get on the erg. So I just got into cycling. But the cool thing I learned about lockdown was that with rowing, I always wondered if I was doing what I wanted to do. And like, I was like, will I want a normal life afterwards? And the good thing about lockdown, for me, I was lucky that I had money I was getting paid for my old coaching job in person. So I was still getting an income, but I could do what I wanted with the day. And I just got obsessed into another sport. And I was like, well, if I have all the time in my life, I'll just get obsessed in another sport. So that was what did it for me. And, I saw that I was on the right path for me. But yeah, cycled loads in lockdown, probably lost some fitness, came back, got into like Project Paris, they called it, which was the group that they were going to take in afterwards. But obviously they're still in Caversham. So they kind of had to but they didn't want to miss a year of development in that cycle. So got into funding. That was huge, getting paid and stuff. But it was, the first time I got funding, I was like really excited, but then I was almost like quite nervous because it was the expectation of somebody else. It's like now somebody is investing into you, which was like, it was always me, like Pauline and my dad and everybody always really supported me, but it was always because I wanted to do it. And now it's like, now someone's paying me because they want me to do it as well.
Yeah, I found that. I remember looking back now on my career, like when we were at Leander, all the boys know us with Will and Alan, Will Satchow, Sinclair, those guys. Like the aim was get paid to do this. Like, oh my God, so like if we could get paid to do this, this would be amazing. But then looking back, it's the point at which I started making money, like everything changed. Because up until that point, it's like, we're just having a go and seeing what we can do. And all of a sudden you're like, now this is my job. And now there's some expectation on it. And it's performance based. So if I don't do at the end of the year, like my funding can get dropped. Like A is like 30 something. B is like 20 something. C is like 18. So like you win a medal one year, great, you're on 30 something. You don't make the A final the next year, bang, you're back down to 18. Like huge gaps. And I think like I agree, like for me that was like, shit, like it's real now.
I was like, I was on 12K a year up here, and I was living like a king. I was like, hell yeah, like splashing out, going to Waitrose and stuff like that. Maybe get the odd like medjool dates. That was my go-to. Treat. Nice. But yeah, I could live like a king up here, but down in Caversham, Henley, different story.
It's wild though, isn't it? Like someone's paying me to do it
was class. I love that. Like I love that as well. And like being up here, like just kind of getting to do my own training as well. Like Colin was still supporting me for that year. But yeah, there was another trial. I won the non-Olympic trials, it was called, and then got selected for the first vest.
Was it soon?
No, it was Sabaudia, actually.
Project Paris,
yeah. So that was the third World Cup. So it was annoying. It wasn't annoying, I got more out of it because it was more competitive. But there are some other events that were like, 5 boats entered, so guaranteed A final. 4 boats entered 75% of crews. Or there might be a minimum entry to get a bronze, but I was in one of the men's and women's single was like the highest entry. So I had great competition. Like that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm like, it was a good test, but I was like, I wouldn't mind a bit of an easier path to the A or something. But,
and also in a single, you have to race so much more.
Yeah,
you were saying like you found it funny when like he would go out to the World Cup in a single, and then the men's A would also go out. And they did 2 races, 5.5 minutes each, so 11 minutes of racing. He would have to do like heat, quarter, rep, semi, final. It's like 28 minutes of racing. And then on Monday, they set up, they've got the same training. Yeah. It's like, come on, man.
I know, yeah. Don't get me started. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Didn't you work out like how much you were getting paid per session on Sunday?
Yeah, it was pretty miserable. When we were in the squad, we were just sat around waiting to do a half hour. So we like broke it down, like how much we're getting paid like per session to do this half hour. And it was like something like £9 or something.
Yeah.
It's still better than nothing, but it was like,
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Like I was always pretty like, I was happy with it, Like,
I wasn't unhappy with it. I think that's just not a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, just don't do that. Yeah, and then you're measuring your time. You're measuring it like a service as well. I kind of like what you're saying. So like you're doing it for somebody else. And I was just always tried to be really clear that I was doing it for me ultimately. Some people say I'm doing it for my family, or people. I think that's like bullshit. Like I think you're doing it for yourself. Like at the end of the day. So you can do it for other people, but mostly I think you do it for yourself.
Yeah, it's a pretty selfish pursuit in some ways, but
It's
if
so
you don't
selfish,
acknowledge that, you're not. Yeah, you can't pretend that that's not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of got to own it, I think.
Yeah, I did, yeah. And Ricky always said, my old coach, he's always like, you got to be a cocky dickhead to be a good sports person. So I was like, Roger that. That's like, I'm pretty sure he called me that a couple times as well.
That's kind of like, oh yeah, he recognized me. Yeah, I mean, you have to, Dave Bell said that you have to be a special kind of weird to be a single sculler.
Yeah.
So I guess
that's the thing in Caversham at that table with all the scullers. So it's like pairs, sweep guys are more normal because like you're more social. Like to be, even if you're like a quad specialist or whatever, to get into the quad, you have to be a good single sculler. And to be a good single sculler, you have to be extra weird, I think. All rowers are weird, really, but like a bit extra weird. And I never felt more normal at that table with us group of scullers at Caversham. I looked around and I'm like, I think I might be the most like normal person here. I was like, I've never had that before in my life. I'm always sitting in places like, oh yeah, I'm a bit weird.
Just perfect. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Absolute nutters. Yeah, these are my people.
Yeah, exactly. So
after Sabaudia, what did you do?
Yeah, I went to, so that was the big thing for me. Like, Pauline, my wife, she was up here working and stuff. So it was always like, I wanted to get into a point where like I fulfilled my potential up here. I didn't want to go down any sooner than I had to. And like, I think there were a lot more reasons I could get more performance and support up here as well. There's certainly a lot of draws down to like Leander and stuff. So yeah, and like financially as well, like I just wouldn't have been in a position to do it. But, you know, when I had a bit of like income and guarantee that, you know, it's likely that you can go down and get into Caversham the next year. Colin and Shep both like said, they're like, Jack, you gotta go down south. Like you just go. So yeah, I went and spent 8 weeks at Leander. I was trying really hard. I know you guys are Leander boys, but I was like trying really hard to not go to Leander and like get in through, you know, Clydesdale or Edinburgh. But yeah, it was fantastic there. The sport there was fantastic for sure.
It's awesome, but yeah, no, it also in a way it kind of sucks. I've spoken to a lot of people, a lot of coaches around the country who, you know, I got to go down to Leander because, you know, there's not enough people up here. And it's like, yeah, but if everyone keeps saying that, then there'll never be enough people anywhere.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of like a little bit of a shame how it drains other clubs.
But it's the thing. So you've got to be selfish as well. Like we've been saying, it's like you have to just, you know, put yourself first, and you can't let loyalty dictate, you know, like be a barrier between, you know, you doing your best. And I spent 8 weeks there. Rode a double with Will Fletcher.
Nice.
I thought, you know, I was struggling to improve. I don't say this to be cocky, but I didn't know. I didn't have the input to get better with my technique. I thought like it was going to be very minute, my changes and stuff like that. But rowing a double with Fletch and stuff, he was like, I'm sure he's doing a great job at Durham now. Just like, came along so well with him, just sitting behind me, just tell me what to do and stuff. Like, yeah. But it was real. I gained so much from rowing the double with him. 8 weeks there, and then back home did Henley and stuff like that, the delayed Henley, and then 4 weeks at home, and then got down to Caversham and stuff. So yeah, that was like the permanent move. That was pretty big deal. But yeah, that was good fun.
So you got
fun figuring out how to budget down there with £1,000 a month, and most places rent are like 600, 700. So I did actually. This is probably useful advice to give. Is well, first off, get into Leander and stay there for as long as possible, and try and just I'm looking at rent. Oh yeah, there's no flats anywhere.
Yeah.
And then there is like this. It's called Age Oxford UK. It's like home shares are called. So it's basically with like elderly people who are living alone and just want a bit of company. And you exchange like a bit of kind of companionship, they call it, for cheaper rent. So I was only paying like £200 a month, and there was an old guy, Roy, who we were roomies. But like he was some guy as well. Like he couldn't hear, but like he would just. I didn't even know that for the longest time. He would just lip read me.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't know you could lip read that well and stuff. And anyways, that saved me a lot of money.
So I'd much rather live with a older guy than like three stinky rowers, which is what I did.
Definitely, yeah. And I had a big room and stuff like that. It was a big old house.
I did worse than that actually. We had a 3-bed flat, and there's 5 of us living there.
Oh yeah. Which way is it? The soup kitchen? in that one?
No, this was one out in Wellington. The whole building's got knocked down now. That's how horrific it was.
After you guys left. It's not worth it anymore. You're going to start from the ground.
2 guys shared a room and just put a big wardrobe in the middle of the room.
Nice.
With like a gap down the middle. And then we had another guy in the living room, just had a bed in the living room.
But those are the good times as well. I had one, spent most of my time in the single when I was in Scotland, did one project 2017, Prince of Wales, with some other guys who were I was ex-start then, but there was 3 other start guys and we were development, and it was like, we did 6 weeks together, but it was literally like we worked it out, the amount of time we were within arm's reach of each other. It was like 4 of us in the car, walking to training, cooking, sharing a double bed in the quad. Yeah, like you're literally always close to somebody, and it's like you get way too close. Like your boundaries and stuff are definitely crossed. Like it just gets like weird. Like the relationships that you build with people,
the
like
weirdest stuff will wind you up as well, isn't it? Like it's just like not even a thing, but this guy, like I want to murder him because of the way he's eating. Like he's just chewing too loud. He's fucking me off. Like
yeah. But it was good times of looking back and stuff. And in uni as well, we did some of that. Stayed in some dodgy places. I'm just trying to think what were some. Me and Matt Haywood, we had some questionable places we stayed, some caravans, just anywhere we could find like night to try and save as much money as possible. But
that's
good
the
times
other part of the sacrifice, isn't it? Like that other people don't see, you know? Like, you're down a cushion, that's amazing. How did you do that? Like living in a caravan, not having a job, like making it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like getting paid £1,000 a month, rented 600, God forbid you drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how did you find Caversham?
Yeah, I loved it for the first 3 months I was there. So like with my training as well, like every year I'd come back, I would just be like, again, trying to put myself in a position where when I look back, I say I've done everything I can possibly. And up until that point, I think when I got to Caversham, I would be, 1 year I'd be like, I just want to improve my sleep by 30 minutes a night or improve my nutrition or whatever. And I got to that point where I was going into Caversham, it was like, I felt like I was doing everything I could, which was quite satisfying to do, but it was just a case of do that more when I got there. And the only thing I could do to make a good impression was just be super consistent. So I just I shouldn't have done this, but like I was just trying to make a good impression and show that. I was one advice I got is like just show them that you can do the training and they'll be a lot more confident in you. And I trained, I didn't miss a session for like 4 months. Trained through some illnesses, no doubt, but I was just trying to make a good impression. But yeah, I mean, the first few months, because I think, selection was like everybody was, it was like a ranking order because it was all small boats and stuff. So I think when there's a ranking order, when there's a clear ranking order of small boats, like where you stand, whether you're last place or first, like it's an internal sport. Like, like you can be happy with your performance and stuff. We can all shake hands afterwards and be like, well done, like well deserved. And I think that created a more friendly, and the group of guys were like fantastic. Like we all got along so well and there was never any like tension between us. But I think that ranking system, at least from the coaches, what they were kind of perpetuating onto the athletes, I think that was fine for that point. But the first 3 months I was there, I just loved it. It was like the way I described it to people who were asking back home, I'd be like, it's like you have PE for school, 3 sessions a day. And you show up, you do PE, you have lunch in between sessions, and then you do your second PE, have second lunch or whatever, and then third PE. And it's like, but it's like a 30 people, like your class is just all your best mates. And you can just like laugh and stuff like that. And
nice.
I love like some of the best times I had, I think, was just like everybody's super like tired from training, and like nobody even hesitates like going on to do that third session, like 12, 16K, 20K, whatever it is on the erg. Like there's just no hesitation, and just everybody was so focused on the same goal. It was like that's what I spoke to Sam Townsend before coming in. That was one thing he said was, just you're never going to be in a room with so many people so driven and focused on one thing like you will be when you're in Caversham. So that was like really cool to be a part of. And yeah, that's I won November trials, so I made it. None of the Olympians were back yet, so a good first impression for sure. Got bumped up on funding a little bit as well, because everybody, when you're at Cav, you have to be minimum 1,500. So I got bumped up for 1,500, which was helpful. And then December I did like 7th or 8th. There was like one guy, Marcus Shoot, he came along, this junior, and just pumped everybody, and we were all so annoyed. We were like, but then the saving grace of GB Scullers is for good juniors that come through GB, it's like, please go to America. Do sweep. Come on. You look like a sweeper. So yeah, he went off to, I think he's gone to Princeton or something like that. But yeah, he pumped everybody there. But yeah, and then kind of coming back selection, you know, the new year and stuff, selection started to get closer, and seat racing, and it was like, it just started to become very tense. The kind of environment that I think was created by the coaches, they were doing it because that's what's always been done, and that's what they think is best for performances. It's a performance sport, like I accept that, absolutely, but I just think that it's in no way, I think there's a very fundamental misunderstanding of what motivates elite athletes, and that I think, you know, there's plenty of there's good coaches there, but a lot of them haven't rode to a high level, and they think, what would I do if I was in that position? What would I do if I felt secure in Caversham? I would train less hard. It's like, but yeah, if you had that mindset, you would have never gotten in there. So they're using their thought. This is my opinion and the way I've tried to like figure it out, and I think that's how they see it, because I just couldn't understand treating people that way.
Yeah, you can see it, can't you? We've already had a number of guests. Jack, Vicky, a few others spoke about it. Zoe, and we were talking about this last night actually
with Al.
How detrimental they all feel a very long selection process was to ultimately the result.
Yeah,
like how much stress you put on your body. Jack was talking about you train in a different way, and therefore you know your UT2 is like threshold.
Yeah, I was angry. I was like training angry.
Yeah, and ultimately you're not doing the program right. And you can, like you said, you can see it. You can see they're trying to go, we'll put all these competitive people in the environment, or we'll push them off against each other.
Yeah,
and just push.
Yeah,
but that's just not always.
It's not even that. Like, of course, the competition is good as well, but it's like, you know, telling somebody one thing and then putting out a boat that says another, and say like, this boat is a training boat, and it's clearly got like 3 Olympians and one guy who you think, you know, maybe you should be faster than him, but you don't get told that, and you get put, you know, that's what was happening with me and Aviz. I was getting put maybe towards the bottom end of the ranking at the time, and I was like, why? You know, I just didn't understand it. But you go to the coach and be like, it's just a training boat, but they're clearly trying to create this, you know, make me feel insecure. So right, I gotta prove it. And I did. I got furious. I was like in the hotel room, like rowing paradise as well, like 20K left, right, glass, best food in the world. Yeah. Like, well, not in the world. That's really good food. I don't know what I said in the world.
For training camp. Yeah. Best training camp food in the world.
Like 5-star hotel, amazing place. And I hated it. I was hating it. And yeah. I just like, I'm a quite a relaxed person generally, like I'm pretty laid back, and I was like I was screaming in the room. Like I got a text for like finding out that I wasn't getting a chance to go into the top boats, and I was just like, I just screamed. Yeah, sorry, you can edit that.
No, it's all right. We had Alex Partridge. He was going full volume.
Was he okay? Yeah. But yeah, just was not myself at all, and you know, first experiences of chronic stress, like clenching my jaw, getting headaches. I stopped like laughing as well. Like I always loved training, and again, I think that's something that was held against me, in my opinion. Important to be clear.
Yeah,
but, like I love training, I love being in the environment, but I think they maybe saw that as like I'm just happy to be there, which I was happy to be there, but I also like want to go as fast as I can.
Yeah, I've had that before, and I've had athletes, and there's someone. She just was enjoying herself and turning up. It was a blue squad athlete and having a laugh and the chat and stuff. And the coach was like, "You need to take this more seriously." Yeah. Like, what, you don't want to have fun? Like I'm doing all the training. I'm trying to enjoy myself.
200K in February. Like, let us have a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
You got to find ways. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, and you don't want to be doing all the training. Feel like you're getting like somewhere good. You know, the boats are kind of being selected, and then like it's just getting ripped apart all the time, just because the coaches are going to want to try and find the best combination, but actually you're just always under surveillance, and it's so hard to like be your best self when you're in the Big Brother. Basically.
It's difficult as well, because obviously we all have our own opinion of what we want or go well, and I understand that like a lot of Caversham, you know, Jürgen's been doing it for a long time, so his opinion comes from experience of it over a long period of time. Generally, I would, you know, who knows if this is possible or whatever, but I sort of tended to think as an athlete, there are so many hoops you have to jump through. You have to come to this trial, you have to get this on the ergo, you have to do this performance, this, and this. And if you do all this and you do that, well, then you can do that. But then there's like nothing coming back. Listen, well, if I do all this, like, well, then do you have to select me? Well, no, like, you can do that. You can do this well in this trial, but we decide if you come and do seat racing, then we decide this and we decide that. And I feel like there could be a more transparency in terms of if you do this and this is what you'll get. If you come in the A/B final trials, you will get seat raced for a place, but it's not.
Yeah, it just makes their life difficult, doesn't it? Like, coaches are people too as well.
Yeah,
like, they just want an easier life. Like, they want to punch in, punch out sometimes, and they just can't be arsed. Like, I think sometimes, like, they just don't want to put a stake in the ground and be like, you know, this is where we stand, and then you remember that, and then, you know, they change their mind about something, and then you have like all these people you told these things, you know, that's more work for them, but it's fair, but it's more work for them.
In 2013, I was supposed to be in the B8 that Colin Williamson was.
Oh, nice.
And I'm back and then I got back, but it had done quite well at the World Cup in Dorney. So they said, we're not doing crew change. So I went into a pair with James Fode, and we were going all right. And then they went to third World Cup in Lucerne, and they said, you're going to go as a spare pair. I'm like, but there is no men's pair racing. Like, why can't we race? No. And then one of the coaches said, oh, because you might not perform very well. And I was like, I'm running with James Fode, like, it's an Olympic medal, like, we'll be going fine, like, our times are good, like, there's no way that you're sat here going like, oh, you could embarrass it. I felt personally, it's like, I felt like we're not allowed to race, because if we do really well, then selection's got to get opened up again. Yeah. Whereas now it's like, it's all like locked in, like, we wouldn't have to bring anyone else on cam, we wouldn't have to maybe do any seat racing. Yeah. Again, it's out of my opinion, and I only saw it from my angle. Yeah. And it's difficult sometimes, but I feel like there's times when I've also felt like, feels like you may be going for the easy ride here, and not just at Caversham, in many squads that I've been a part of. Yeah, for sure. I just I think the way they motivate, it's just like, and I think they think it's the best way. Like, they think that that's good as well. Like, they think that is because it's worked before, and it is working right now. Like, the GB squad are doing great. But I just think, it could be done so much better. That's always a difficult thing. Like, it's so hard to change something when it's going well. If you're winning, why would you change it?
Yeah, I remember when I was trying to get in the before Tokyo and stuff like that, I kept seeing the sculling squad doing like bottom of the rankings, and I was like, yes. I was like watching it every time. I was like, yes, come on, do it for, like, because you don't want the boat you're trying to get in, and it's selfish. But me and George Bourne used to joke about that all the time. Like, if one of us was like a niggle or an illness or something like that, we'd just be like, yes. Because like in that group as well, you could openly joke about it as well, that it's in your best interest that the other person, I don't like, if somebody like gets a back injury and I get in their seat, like, I'm sad for them, but I'm happy that I'm in that seat. Yeah. And like, it's totally selfish, but I think that's the conversation we started to have in the sculling group as well. Is that's the way everybody sees it.
Yeah, you all understand. It. You know
brutal.
The deal. Yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah. And you don't have to even like hide just be authentic, and like, obviously you're going to be happy that you got a chance, but like, there's no need to just be like fake and say like, oh well. Yeah, well, I don't really like,
just him last night. I'm so sad. I'm crying, like, bullshit. Like, come on, you're in the top boat now. Like,
exactly. Just own it and just take it as it is.
So that is, like you said, then it started getting a bit more tricky.
Yeah. Tension started to rise. That was and I was keeping it hidden because like I would tell like Pauline and my dad about it and stuff like that. We were always keeping in touch, and like how good it, like I was like, I'm gonna do this, so I don't want to, like, if I'm gonna do it and if I'm gonna push through it, why do I want to burden somebody else by thinking that you're struggling when they can't change anything. And the other thing as well, I think partially why that environment is created is because if you feel like you should be in a boat and everybody feels like they should be in that boat, and it's like you start getting put against each other, and it's like, there's nobody else I can go and complain to or talk to and be like, I think I should be in that boat, because then it's circular, like everybody's like, oh well, they said they should be in this boat, they said, it's difficult. So it's very isolated, very, very, very isolating.
Yeah, because you're competing, especially in sculling, you're literally competing against everyone you row with. In rowing, you can maybe speak to somebody, if you're on stroke side, maybe you could say to your bouncer,
the cops or something.
But in sculling, like, you're really stuck. And like
the sweep guys were my saving grace, actually. Sometimes at breakfast table, I'm like, I'll sit here, like, start complaining.
Whereas in other team sports, rugby, football, whatever, there's maybe on your squad, there's maybe 2 or 3 people competing for your position, and everyone else is doing something completely different. I feel like rowings are unique in a bad way, almost, in that it's difficult to speak up.
And it is important to like get the shit off your chest. Like you can't hold it in, because otherwise you're just going to drive yourself insane.
I was holding it in big time. I was suppressing that stuff.
So what happened afterwards?
I came back and stuff, and like my trials performances and stuff. I did February trials. I was like 6th. I was basically kind of mid to bottom 3rd, maybe. So like kind of like just on the like, maybe in a seat for the quad, double, or single, maybe not. I was getting better at seat racing throughout the year, but I had spent so much time in the single, I wasn't that good at it. But anyways, ranking kind of maybe towards the bottom end, I was aware of that. That was totally fair as well. Like my position, the trials and seat racing and everything were fair. And I knew where I stood, but I also kind of like felt like it was slightly held over me going in. Oh no, that at that point it wasn't held over me. But going into the trial, I was like, I know, like, this is my last chance. Like, I need to like make a big statement here. So was going well in pieces and stuff like that. Everybody does pieces differently. Some people will, despite, you get off a session, it's like, oh yeah, mate, I wasn't trying at all. And you're like, shut just because you came last. Like, but yeah, some people do that. So I was aware of that. But I was doing well, and I knew if I was going well in training, I'm always going to go well at the trials. But came into the trial week, 10 days out, started to get like a bad cough. Was getting worse and worse and stuff, and I was like still going well in training, and I was like, I'm gonna, if I'm gonna do this, like if I pull out, I'm screwed probably. But I was getting worse and worse throughout the week. One of the coaches said, if you've got any problems, you need to tell us now so that we can fix it now. And I'm like, trials is in like 3 days, like, and that was one thing I think I explained afterwards. I was like, if I'm going to do it, going like this, I'm sick, like making that, vocalizing it, I know we're just talking about like mental health and sharing it, but for rowing performance, like you can't vocalize that. It just solidifies it in your head. So I was just ignoring that and just putting the blinders on as much as possible. And then did Friday morning, getting worse and worse. The night before, stayed up all night coughing, like just stabbing chest pain, really, really bad. Friday morning, went in, I was like, I just can't, like, there's no way I can do this. Like, I literally haven't slept, and like my breathing was like terrible. Said it to the coach and stuff, and he was like, well, you can pull out, but if you do, it's gonna cause problems for you. And I was like, right, okay. So that's me basically, saying, if you pull out, you're done. So yeah, I was like, all right, I'm doing it then, I guess. So did the time trial. I think I came 4th or something like that. I was still 2 seconds. So like, I think with the illness, there's a delay, and like when it really kicks in. And I was like, like 4th or something, a couple of seconds off first. So I was still quite happy with that, but started to get like a really bad chest pain, stabbing chest pain, in my breathing and stuff like that. My voice got so bad. And then did the semi-final and got 750 in. I just started like gargling like fluid and stuff. And Sam Mayo, he said, this is kind of funny, but again, it's kind of similar to the stuff we were talking about, where it's like he heard me breathing and he was like, right, I'm going to make a move. I was like, cheers. Like I was probably like friggin' like gargling like my chest fluid or something.
Yeah.
And I got off the boat screaming, shouting, landed on the pontoon, like just furious, screaming, cursing. Fuck this, all like breaking, throwing oars on the ground, like got into the changing room and like slammed the door so hard. And like I've just never done anything. I think one time I got angry and I like threw a pillow and I was like, why did I do that? But this just totally different in a just totally different mindset. And I spoke on the phone to Pauline, and she was like, she said she never heard me sound anything like that. I sounded deranged, and I just drove home. I just left. I just drove home. I didn't even speak to the doctor or anything. I just left after the semis and just rage, like drove home, like didn't stop once for 6 hours, not even to pee.
Wow.
Like I just like after like loads of racing, got home at like 10 p.m. like still But like, you know, total, like, yeah, it was good times. But yeah, you know, and then came back and stuff. They found out that I left. They were like, what the fuck? Like, why did you leave? And I was like, because I was angry. But, you know, they didn't seem to believe me that I spoke to one of the coaches on the phone and said, I can't, you know, I was so bad and the World Cup was in 7 weeks. But in my bed, I was lying there. I was like, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be ready for the World Cup on the phone. Like, I was so fucked. Like, I was just lying in my bed, like, you know, like could barely move and stuff like that. And I came back and they were like, why do you think you're not going to be able to go to the World Cup in 7 weeks? It's like, it's 7 weeks away. You will be able to. And I was like, what? Like, you get so in tune with your body as an athlete and you can just tell. And yeah, they just seemed to, they thought I was trying to get out of racing basically. So this was Paul Stannard, who is these conversations I'm having. And yeah, they kept pushing like, right, okay, take 2, here's the plan, 2 days off, come back, you're going to do 4K, then the next day you're going to do 6K, and like wrote out this plan, and because it's a plan, you know, it's going to work. And would go out for just like gravity, like my legs were just like doing nothing, and heart rate like 160, 170. Wow. Like, this is like, what's going on? They kept taking bloods, couldn't find anything. Eventually found out that it was glandular fever, and they were like, yeah, you should probably go home and rest for a while. It's going to be, the season's done. So yeah, I went home.
And you were like, yeah, I've been telling you.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. Like, yeah. So yeah, and you know, I think the selector's in a high pressure situation. It's hard in high pressure situations to make decisions, but you know, doctors, teachers, they deal with stress. It doesn't excuse like negligent behavior. So like, that's part of the job description, is to be able to handle that and make responsible decisions. I've heard some other horror stories from other rowers as well, that, yeah, I won't name their names and stuff. I'm sure they'd share it, but just being forced to do things that it's like, they're in a position where they're not secure, and they know that they've got, the coaches have the leverage over them. But
yeah.
So then I basically, yeah,
it's difficult. Same thing. I've been in positions before, and you know, there's been a test piece, and I know my back's not good. But I just know, you know the environment, and you know me going up to Jürgen now and being like, I don't feel fancy this one. It's like not going to be an option. Yeah. And it's difficult because at the same time, I do feel like, you know, we've entered an agreement. You know, I'm here at Caravan because I want to go to the Olympics and win a medal, and you are telling me what I need to do to get that. And I trust that you've done that so many times before. So I understand that. I understand why I'm being told to do this in this way. But yeah, I think the difficulty is, exactly what you're saying, is understanding the mindset of elite athletes, because these people, if you let them, will grind themselves into a pulp. Yeah. So I think there's a responsibility as a coach, and it's a super hard line to do. And I've done it, and you know, I've coached at a very low level and found it very difficult. But you got to be like a bit more aware. Like, even when we spoke to Vicki, she was saying it's so hard because my coach is saying, Vicki, you're looking a bit fucked. Are you all right? She's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. You know, because she doesn't want to show weakness. It's part of it.
Yeah, so it's a hard balance.
It's a massively difficult thing to do. And it's easy to look back and say, oh, I think they got that wrong. That one there was wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah,
but also as well, it's your journey, and it's you know, it is your story. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, if you know, I literally used to have that mindset where, you know, if I went to my coach, you know, in 2016, the Friday before a race, and I said I got a sore throat, he'd be like, yeah, whatever, roll his eyes, and he'd be absolutely right. I backed out of races before like that. But again, my results were showing that I was coming last place at trials. I was training like somebody who was last place at trials. And then, you know, you're in Caversham, you're there because you don't do that stuff. Like, so yeah, it's just no trust as well. I think they just didn't believe me when I was saying things, and I get it. I was new there, so they didn't know me as well. But
so I guess once you found out that you've got glandular fever, which is awful, by the way, did you know that was it for you?
Yeah, I wanted to quit, to be honest, in the Viz. Like, I thought about it, but I was like, I've literally trained since I was 19, like dedicated, like I've come so close. Like, it'd be such a shame, but I like just had such a strong feeling in my gut that it just wasn't for me.
That's a real head fuck.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I'm in the place I've dreamt to be.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And I lived through that for quite a long time as well. And that fucks you up in the head.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I came, after trials and stuff, when I was coming back and going out training and stuff, like I was just like, I really just don't want to be doing this. But I was like, I'm not well. Got rested up. When I had glandular fever, I still felt like I was pretty sure I didn't want to keep going, despite being so close, despite showing good promise. For me, I have to enjoy the process. Like I have to love the process, and I just didn't at all. Like I just hated it, and I was a different person. My personality was just crushed. And fair play to people that can go through that, because I just can't. Like I spoke to the sports psychologist afterwards as well, and they were saying, they sound like I'm quite strongly valued, and like I value this is not to say people that go through it don't value these things. For me, it's just so important. I can't like overlook it. But just like respect and like literally the cheesy stuff, like doing your best, like working as hard as possible, being a good teammate, trusting your team and your staff and vice versa. And I was just like, none of that was being met there, and I was hating it. I just hated it. And then, glandular fever, tried to come back. But it was literally, like triggering. I don't want to say triggering, because I know that's like linked with more mental health things, but it was like when I had a session at Strathclyde Park, and it was hard and I was tired, and it was a crosswind, and it took me back to a viz in a crosswind where I was hating the session. I just like lost it. Like I just couldn't, like I again got super angry, had to go in. I was just like, I just can't do this, and finished my last race, Inverness Head.
I think that's also a difficult thing to know. I've always said I have so much respect for people that know when it's time.
Yeah.
And that can be a really difficult thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was just in my gut. I was just like, that's what I said. I've spoken to a few people that have been close to quitting and have quit. And I just said, I think you'll know in your gut. Like if you're unsure, then I think maybe keep going generally. But if you in your gut, it's time, then I think that's just go with your gut with these things. So,
yeah.
And then also, the online coaching stuff I was really enjoying that. And so
you're already doing that.
Yeah, I started to do that. I shouldn't have done it when I had glandular fever. I should have been resting more, but I just couldn't sit there and do that. Like I just was lose my mind. So I just started to do that. And then that kind of that was another thing as well. I was like, I don't just want the reason for me to be quitting because I'm finding another like passion of mine. Like I don't want that to be the reason I'm stopping it, but that helped the transition.
How did you get into that in the first place?
So first off, my dad, he always was not always 2005 or so, like years and years ago, he became self-employed, just started his own like maths education website, and just for as long as I can remember was like working from home, working online, work wherever he wants in the world, be his own boss. I always just like loved the idea of that for myself, and then. But I knew I always wanted to be involved in sports, and like I thought about doing teaching or something like that because I had a maths degree, and I wasn't sure. I definitely didn't want to do finance. But you
didn't fancy 90 hours per week in a cubicle?
No, definitely not. Not for me.
I imagine, you must have still like obviously loved the sport, loved rowing, loved everything about it, like the mindset. There's just so many like different aspects to like what you can do with the sport, but also like. Seeing that you wanted to sort of finish your international career, then that was another good way to sort of like still be involved with the sport and share that passion with other people, even though you're not necessarily like doing it to the most competitive level yourself.
That's absolutely right. Like it was literally like exactly like it helped kind of me get motivated to go rowing again, is working with people that like want to get better and are passionate about it, like all across the world and stuff. So that like kind of helped me get back a little bit, but it wasn't. I was like, I have to want to do it. So, it was a good transition. But it was just I'd heard of other people doing online coaching as well, and I just thought there might be a point when I go back to coaching in person. But for me, like I just wanted like the ability to choose when I worked, going from being so selfish with rowing and missing weekends. Like, Pauline and I, we could never go anywhere. And with coaching, it's anti-social hours, morning, evening, and weekends. So I've done coaching as well, like part-time my whole career, basically. But I just wanted a break from that and like wanted freedom. And I heard people doing online coaching. I was just like, this is exactly right for me. If I can figure out how to make this work.
Yeah. Well, I guess the good thing about online coaching is that you remove your income from the time that you spend on it. Because with an online, like if you're coaching someone in person, there's only so many crews you can look after at any given time, or so many athletes that can be in the same place as you. Versus with online, you can scale that much further.
Yeah.
And then you're not necessarily being paid for your time, but also for like the results that you provide, right?
Yeah, and the value you create as well. That's just the main thing for me, is like just over deliver like hell and just get the best results, and try and just make it as good as possible. And that's basically the backbone of it.
That's one of the best things about COVID, is that like people realize that online is all right. You know, like it might only be like 90% as effective as in real, or like certainly in a lot of areas it's the same, but you're not really missing out on that much. I feel like with so many things, you know, like Zoom calls and so many things, like trying to organize in-person meetings and stuff, 5 or 6 people with schedules and all of that was like a nightmare. And now it's like, we'll just do a Zoom call and we can meet anyway. Like finally, like it seems to make sense.
Yeah, I think it kind of accelerated like the industry about like 5 years or something like that. I feel like people just got so used to it. And you get to work with like kind of, you know, be somewhat selective with who you work with as well, and make sure that you're like the best fit for athletes and stuff. And in that way, you can help deliver them the best results. So that's the other good thing about it as well. And you can find the most passionate people as well to work with. So.
Are you working with just like anyone, or any specific target?
We mainly we specialize in like busy professionals basically. So people with jobs that don't have time, and you know, there's no skill level, there's no like, you know, 2K cutoffs like in trials and stuff. It's like, you know, we've got some people that basically started their rowing journey with us, and then we've got some people that are trying for national vest and stuff like that. And
that's incredible.
It's like the common thing is just like the passion and the attitude towards it, and you being committed to goals regardless of what it is. Like when I was coaching in person as well, like I never care. The best rower at the club probably is going to be the most annoying to coach because they have the biggest ego. Sometimes. But when I was coaching in person, I never cared if it was, you know, a vet who just came down and just got started, or, you know, it's a junior, you know, who's wanting to get more competitive or something like that. If they're passionate and they're into it, then that's what I love.
Yeah.
And I think like, I don't know, like I think it's so different from rowing, but I think, you know, I might enjoy it more than rowing, getting to do that.
Being in the background. We said with Tim Foster, he was saying this, I don't even think he could think of anyone who had rowed an incredibly high level and then gone on to coach an incredibly high level. Like the guys who win the medals are not necessarily, just because you've been great at it doesn't make you a great coach.
And different ingredients make them the best athlete and the best coach as well.
Yeah, I think like, you know, there's obviously sport genetics come into it and stuff. There's people that, you know, for me, I was like shorter, like physiology wasn't as good, technique wasn't as good. I had to look to like literally every single part that I could improve to improve. So I think when you have to do that and struggle a bit more, then that's not to say people genetically talented don't struggle, but I think you do, just you're forced to look for like more. And then that's what we try and do, is like I try and coach that and just teach people in manageable ways. Like these are all the little ways that you can do, and like that's what we talk about, like maximizing the limited amount of time you have. If we can just have that time window so focused and just build little habits around that. They don't actually take more time, but it's just little habits that make sure you're doing everything you can within your situation to get to your full potential. And that's why like we're working with Alan now as well. And I'm not going to like, not to say that Alan genetically wasn't as gifted, but it took him longer to get in the team. He had to push more. He had to train more. He didn't just get in easily. Like he had to, and that's why he's been like a fantastic coach with us as well.
Yeah, the more you struggle, the more you learn.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think more just in terms of, it's not like I say, it's not like you're not struggling without it, but you got to think a little bit more, and you've still got to be more aware of what you're doing rather than just kind of doing exactly what you're told and getting the results. Like when it takes longer, you kind of in your head a bit more, try something, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. It's the same. I think from rowing at a high level to a certain degree, you know, like doing video analysis, you're learning how to coach yourself. That automatically allows you to go and look at someone else and have some knowledge and some ability to do it.
And it's important to like have someone else look at you as well, because you can be the most disciplined person in the world, but like having a mentor is so important. And it's easier because like that person keeps you accountable. You don't have to rely on your self-discipline, how you feel on the day in order sort of like achieve your results that you want. So what kind of results do you provide to your clients? Do they come to work with you because they want to improve their 2K or fitness, lose a bit of weight, or?
Yeah, it's pretty like performance driven. I would say like it's purely like getting faster, generally getting an improvement. So that will look like different things for different people. You know, some people it's like they want to win, you know, place this high at trials. Some people their performance is I want to make the boat feel better. And I want to get, you know, want to improve my technique, and I want to feel the boat run nicer, and that's literally it. And we can use metrics like performances to measure that, but you know, there's people that are looking for different things out of it, and you know, a healthier lifestyle. Some people are, you know, using the performance mindset to motivate themselves to a healthier version of themselves. Sometimes, like that's they see it as that. That's what we say as well, like rowing to the best version of yourself, whatever that is. So yeah, it's quite varied actually in what people want to get out of it, but it's quite what's shared is the commitment and the passion for it, and the community that we have as well is like really good group of people from all over the world, but that share sort of the same obsession that we all have.
So when you finished in the team, you were already kind of doing this. How many? It was just you at that point?
Yeah.
How many would you have? How many people would you be coaching?
Yeah, so I was very cautious to gradually bring people on because I just wanted to ensure that, you know, they always got the best service possible. And I've heard of people taking on far too many people and diluting it, and that was something that for me it was just I would hate to live with. So very gradually took people on, but I also wanted to make sure that I didn't take on so many people where I couldn't work on other things that would like grow and make it better. Like they say, working in the business versus working on the business. And I always wanted to, you know, build partnerships with other people and, you know, products and services and software. I say software, but it's like, you know, spreadsheets that like tell you certain things or plan and stuff for you, and work with specialists as well, like mindset, time management, some public speaking stuff. You know, that's going to help them. So it was important for me to not put myself in a position where I couldn't continue to make it better for everybody. Like it was just like with me with rowing, like I just wanted to keep getting better and want to make it better. And I could have taken on a lot more people, but I think, you know, from the people who are there from day one as well, they'll I'm sure they'll testify to how much like it's changed and how much we've added on. And that's just what I keep doing. Like I love that challenge of how can we just keep making this better.
Yeah. That's the transferable skill. Like what you were just talking previously in rowing about how you weren't the biggest guy, so you needed to look for 1% here, 1% here. And now you apply that to business. And like, again, with us, with Rogi and how that's gone in this last year.
So,
I was doing too many different things at one point. I've got my wife's a hairdresser, so we've got a hair salon in Oxford.
Oh, nice.
I don't cut hair.
Nice.
Look at him. He definitely doesn't cut hair.
Don't cut your own hair. Yeah. I cut my own hair when I was in Caversham. That was one of my money.
That's how you save money.
Yeah. £15 a month. No chance.
For that, then running all the business side of this, then I sort of took on this coaching thing, and that just took on more and more time. And I realized that just like exactly what you said, I didn't have enough time to commit to everything. So I was doing everything badly. So sort of dropped out coaching, like really just put that rowers mindset into us this year. And like that's part of doing this podcast and
I love that.
Getting out down on getting ourselves out there and exposure. And that's the thing that I think you can take, like those things that you do in sport, you can take and like listening to you talk about it. You're just doing that thing like 1% here, 1%.
Yeah.
How can I improve it? How can I add? How can I do this? And then obviously, go on.
Oh, sorry. I'm like, I love that stuff because like, I think as well, like that's why we're so mindset focused as well, because I think that's where the power of sport is that you can take it anywhere you want to go and you can really improve your ability to handle pressure at work, or, you know, for younger people as well, like they can learn skills where they can go into any environment that they choose and apply that same process. And that's like part of the coaching as well that we do is that's kind of one of the things I'm trying to figure out is how can we make it really clear on these are the skills you learn in rowing and ways that this skill you learned actually transferred into that thing that you're doing in work or something like that. You know,
it becomes life coach. And a lot of those skills that you teach someone as a rower is like that's applicable for your whole life. Like you can use, and I think that's like that probably gives more value to what you do.
Do you find that usually when you like take on a client and you try and provide a certain result for them, you first literally have to like alter their mindset or the way that they're thinking about problems. So you're also teaching them like a new way of thinking about life in a way.
Yeah, I think, the good thing about it is that everybody that comes in is different, and that challenge, like, of trying to figure out where somebody is and just like figure out where we are. It's always, this is something Ricky used to always say, is like, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What is required to get to where you want to be?
Yeah.
And this is what we think the work's going to be required to get there. So it's always, with coaching, it's just figuring out what is an actionable task that you can do, that you can focus on, that's simple, that's manageable, that's going to get you a step forward, and just keep going like that. Like, just pick one thing, diagnose it. It's often everybody's mindset can be improved. That's what I always say. It's like there's two types of people that admit they have that they can improve their mindset, and people that are lying to themselves. Like, you can always improve it.
I love that.
Yeah. And just just always trying to, and like people coming in and stuff, like that's the cool thing, is that with the people that we work with, is they're already bought into it and stuff like that. And that's, why we work with the people that we do, is like, we're just, we have to be bought in from day one. And that's what gets the best results. And that's why I'm so passionate about it as well. Like, I love getting somebody, like, who doesn't love to drop the 2K time or place higher at a result? But I love seeing the changes in people's attitude towards training, just the language. You see it in our group chat and stuff like that, the language they'll use around training and stuff like that. Slow changes. It's a really exciting thing to be a part of.
That's awesome.
As a kid, I always used to think, like, teachers, coaches, stuff like, I'm never going to do that job. Why?
Yeah.
Would you sit in front of 15 kids, don't give a shit, and they're not listening? And I was like, fuck ever doing that. And then I got a chance to coach, and luckily enough, in a sport, I think the thing with rowing is it's not curriculum. You have to choose it. So generally, the kids, athletes, whoever you're using, they've chosen to be there.
Yeah.
So sort of automatically, it's not like you're trying to teach maths to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
So automatically, there's that there. But then you start to see, being able to help someone, being able to be in a position to give them some advice in a position that you've been in, that you never had, that you maybe had to learn the hard way through. And it's like, it's awesome. It's so awesome. I sometimes feel guilty, like I'm getting paid to do this, and people are saying, "Oh, you're such a, you do such a great job." And you're like, I'm loving this. Like, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and because it's like there's so many jobs that need to be done that maybe aren't as fun, and I do sometimes feel guilty. Like, I just love what I'm doing, and I'm just like, I almost feel guilty sometimes. I'm like, there are so many jobs out there that need to be done and maybe aren't as fun as what I'm doing. So I view that as like a massive privilege. And I always say, like, I remember we were talking one time about, like, if we won the lottery when I was trying to get into the GB team, what would I do differently? I was like, I'd still be doing the exact same thing. Like, I'd still be trying to get into the GB team. And it's like, now it's like, if I won the lottery, like, I would still be doing this exact same thing.
That's a cool test.
Like, it's like, and it's a privileged position to be in and stuff. But yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Awesome.
So when you started out, was it initially just you yourself coaching, or did you start with edge rowing, or has that kind of is that something that has evolved through your journey into coaching?
Yeah. So it started off like, that's kind of the name I came up with, like, get the edge.
Nice.
Yeah. Which is kind of like comes back to me, like, in my career, looking to every detail I could finding the inches, the edges, as whatever you want to call it, and then teaching that to people. And it was always mindset from the start, and I always just process focused. Like, our vision is to change some of the culture in the sport of rowing, and change it to one where it's far more process focused, far more internal, far more the things that you can control, far more about doing everything that you can to get as fast as possible, far more enjoyable process, learn so much more about yourself, learn so many more transferable skills, and I think it gets you the best results. And that's what I think in performance environments, sometimes it's like, you can't have that because, you need to do this. It's like, no, I think that's the most enjoyable, you get the most out of it, and it's the best performance. So
well, we spoke to Ben Lewis, saying, we were talking about what's the secret. He's been a very successful coach, and he was like, turn up, train hard, have fun.
That's good. Yeah.
When we were talking to Vicky about it, and saying, you kind of need those three things to get anywhere, and you can do it with two for a while. So you can turn up and train hard and not have fun for a little bit, or you can have fun and train but not be consistent a little bit. But at a certain point, if one of them's missing, you're going to struggle. And I think, like you said, the fun has kind of been knocked out of it a little bit. In certain aspects of it, and I think those are the three key ingredients.
Yeah. You were saying that when you were rowing for the GB team, you said that, like, obviously you understand why the competitiveness is instilled amongst the athletes competing for, like, the seats, but there are better ways of doing this. Do you find that you trying to, like, apply those different methods to your to edge rowing, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I guess kind of the different methods, I think. And there's still a lot of elements in the GB team, I guess, but our approach is focus on the process, and that's what are the controllables, what are your problems in your training, where are you struggling, where are your friction points. That's the first thing, is to figure out that, and then figure out what is one small thing that you can do that's going to improve that, and then just focus on that one thing and just do that. Is literally as simple as that. And it can then be a case of, you're struggling to focus on that because there's still all these other external factors coming in, like the fear of failure, or it might be bad rowing conditions. Okay, like how can we go back to the table, reassess, like how can we help you deal with those external factors and still be able to focus on that one thing and just go from there. And I think once you kind of get bought into that process of very specific one thing that you can control, then you learn the power of it, and then you learn that actually just focusing on one thing, getting so focused on one thing can just makes the world a difference. And then once you get that, you're laughing, you can just tick off all the other areas of your improvement.
Exactly. It's just kind of like raising your baseline. So what's the next step that I need to do? Okay, cool. Now my baseline is hit. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
And then just keep moving up.
I think, certainly when you're going after something big, a big challenge, something that's going to take a lot of work for whatever that challenge is for you as a person, quite often like goal stuff, like I'd write everything out that I wanted to do to achieve something, and then you look at it and be like, wow, that's a massive task, and they would almost like put me off it sometimes and be like, there's no way I can do all that. And then I realized that no, you can't look at something like that, like exactly what you're saying, just pick one. You got 30 things you need to do, pick one, do that, cross that off, then pick the next, and pick the next, pick the next. And I think like exactly what you were saying, like you can focus on that one thing, and then all of a sudden you just do one thing 20 times over, and you've done 20 things. But you can't sit there and be like, how do I do 20 things?
Yeah, like laying the bricks on the wall, that Will Smith quote or something. But yeah, I remember like I had a kind of, not a moment, I don't know, but it wasn't that long ago when I was sitting in front of this massive task that I had to do, and I was like, this is going to take like weeks. And I was like, but I was just like, right, and just like kicked myself up and just like, let's just start. What's the first thing? Like, just start. What's the first thing to do? And just start working on it and get going. And that first step is like the hardest. And that reminded me of like when I'd be going to Strathclyde Park on my own, terrible weather, the shutters at Strathclyde Park, like they go like this, like and they're cold, but like you get like halfway through what you think is halfway through, and you look and the thing's gone up like that far from the ground. And it's like, there's a lot of friction points at Strathclyde Park. But I just remember like it reminded me of those sessions and stuff when I'd be staring down the barrel of like a really long, hard session. I'm like, right, just gotta boat, get my oars, right, get my hands on, boat, one stroke, just take one stroke, okay, one stroke, and just get on with it.
Yeah, I like the thing I heard someone say, that if you're struggling to go to the gym and you don't want to train that day, turn up, get changed, walk into the gym, walk onto the floor, and if you still don't want to train, you can go home.
Yeah.
And I use that quite a bit, like post rowing career, and like, other priorities are coming.
Yeah.
A lot of time, like, can't be asked. Okay, well, if I go and I do like one exercise and I still don't want to be there, I can go.
Yeah.
And then 9 times out of 10, as soon as you don't want to exercise, well, I'm here now, I may as well.
Yeah.
And you'll get your session in, and it's just starting it.
Just start, yeah. And like genuinely believe that, I think some people can say that and be like, oh, I'm not going to believe that I can leave. Like, genuinely believe that you can leave if you want to, and then that just reduces the barriers.
There was a couple of times where I was like, I'm really not feeling this. I'm going, like, but only like once or twice. Like for the majority of the time, you get over it. It's like it's just starting. First step.
What I do is I convince myself to like just come in and just do something just very, very light in the gym, or like some really easy exercises, and then kind of convince myself that I'm just going to do a shitty workout. So a lot of my gym sessions consist of shitty workouts.
But then that removes
but I still get it done.
Doesn't it?
Exactly. And then once I'm there, I'm like, I must have put some weight on. Well, this is all right. Now I'm warmed up. All right, let's just
get momentum. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And like, one of the things I try and say is like, good, like performance sport is kind of like about lying to yourself sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
I always say, and I don't say this isn't lying to yourself, but I say like, this is a good thing that you're in this position. We're here to push you and make you better. So we've got into a position where motivation dips, as it always was going to. View that dip in motivation as a good thing, like seek that, and know that when you're in that position, that means you're getting closer to your full potential. If we wanted to give you a program that is a little bit easier and your motivation was high, we could have done that, but you wouldn't have probably been very happy because you wouldn't be going on a path to like what your full potential is.
Yeah, so we see quite a lot online with like Goggins and Jocko and Rogan all talking about motivation is crap. Like it'll never always be there.
Exactly.
You can't rely on motivation to be the thing that gets you out of bed. Like you need to just do it for you.
Eventually it runs out, and also like once it runs out, that's when most people quit. So that's when you have to like switch over to discipline. Use a different fuel source, right?
To use the Goggins analogy, I loved his book, by the way, but like he talked about separating yourself into two people, and he's like, picture there's two versions of yourself, and one of them's like the like weaker one, or like demotivated, like doesn't want to train, has all your like negative personality traits. Make them whatever you want to be, just make them the like quote worst version of yourself, and then make the other one who's just like this badass, like this is what you're saying, and like just totally like doesn't put up with anything. Rock hard, never even flinches with motivation, just cracks on with everything. And then when you get into and like name them, he's like, there's like David Goggins, and he's like the totally like weak one or whatever. What did he say? It was like the poopy pants crybaby or something like that. I think it's the words he used. And then there's Goggins, and he's like, view yourself, get into that position, view the two people, and say, I'm gonna be Goggins. And you know, kind of sometimes having that separation of those two parts of yourself,
like the you know, like the devil and the angel on your shoulder, isn't it? I heard another one, Cam Haynes, who was like, he's like an ultra marathon runner. He was on a Rogan podcast, and like he was saying how he went on this run with Goggins, and he'd done like some legs weights session, ridiculous session the day before, and like 20 miles into this ultra marathon, it's like he had to take his shoes off and his feet were bleeding and stuff. He's like, oh, it's all over, like he's done. And then he just took off, and he's like, I realized that like David turned up and then Goggins appeared. Like, it is two different people. Yeah, I literally physically saw like here's the man who's like, oh, I'm done now. And then boom, like,
it's the same thing with like lifting weights. You see him like, okay, like almost like can't do another like rep on the bench press, and then like Goggins turns up. Who's gonna carry the boat?
He
feeds off that as soon as his head starts to say, oh, I've had enough now. Like that's what
he loves. That. Where he's I'd say though, like anybody that reads his book, I'm like, don't go full Goggins. Like you're gonna die. Like just go 5% Goggins. Like that's enough. Like you don't want to. It's very dangerous to go.
I love his book as well. Yeah, I think I had a kind of a not a great opinion from just the stuff I'd seen on social media. But then like when you get the background story, like everything, you can't judge someone from the 8-second clip that you see. But yeah, I do think some of his message, like if you take it all quite literally, you will break yourself very quickly.
I think probably some of the things he did. So
but back to but I wanted to ask, like with coaching, it's obviously you started by yourself, but now you've got quite a lot of other coaches you're working with or for you, or was that like a daunting thing to do?
It was you know, it's my baby, like sort of thing. Like I and that was a big transition. I knew it was going to be a big transition where everything I knew I wanted and what was good for the athletes, you know, how to give them the best service, how to get them results, how the systems work, you know, how communication works, all in my head. And I'm fairly like extroverted sometimes, but I'm also very introverted, and I like, you know, my own time, and like will just lock myself to a screen for hours and hours all day. So that was a transition, is actually communicating. But I to be honest, like bringing on Alan, he was like, if there's like one person that I would want at the time, I literally couldn't think of anybody who I thought could be a better person to bring on and just match the passion. That's the thing for me, is like someone who has elite experience, better experience than me. You know, I want to see them like strengths that they have as well, but just the passion is number one, and genuinely caring. Like a lot of people get into coaching for a job. And I just think you're doing people an in-service if you're not in this for the process and the athlete. So, Alan was an easy choice, but it was scary, you know, starting to bring on athletes and have someone else doing it. But I was like, if we can't make this work with Alan, then I'm like, who am I going to make this work with? Yeah. So, and he's been amazing. He's been adding, you know, bringing assets, and we're bringing on another coach now who's in training now. So expanding a little bit as well.
That's awesome.
To try and meet some of the demand, but just slow and steady, and just keep doing the stuff that has worked. Keep it simple, keep clear, and then just thinking, how can we just inch, make it better, make it better, make it better.
Yeah. And if you're obviously growing at the pace that you want to, you could call it slow and steady, but it doesn't look like it from the outside. Yeah. But you could call it slow and steady. You're not going to run out of breath, right? You never, you're never like out of breath when you're winning, when you're ahead. So if you control, obviously the speed that you're growing at, then it makes it more likely to be a very, very sustainable thing leading into the future, right?
Yeah. And like, what's the saying? Like, slow is smooth and smooth is fast, maybe. So I don't know if that really makes sense in this situation, but the number one thing for me, if we want to grow, if we want to expand, is results. And that's just being our strategy, is just deliver the best results possible and the best experience. And then, tell some people about it and just post and say, like, this is what we've done. But try and do it in a way that people can learn from other people that we've helped. Like, this is how we help them. Maybe you can use those strategies to help yourself. But if we move fast, if we move quick, then I can't. Maybe we could handle it, but I'm not confident. I have to be 100% sure that this is always going to be athlete first. So
I think it's a huge problem in business and expanding too quickly. There's a really good example of, there was a restaurant in London that opened. It was fantastic. Everyone loved it. It got an amazing review that went in the paper. 6 months later, it closed because this review goes in. Everyone wants to go there. They're not saying no. Come in. Come in. All of a sudden, it's booked. It's overran. The kitchen, the standard slips. It literally falls off the radar.
There's a taco place by our place in Glasgow that did that. They started to expand, and then their tacos, like, all the avocado was like right at the bottom of the burrito. I remember that was the last time we drew the line. I was like, no more. It was like, you guys are done.
We talked about this. That's the thing.
That's Taco Mazama.
But like, you're right, like, you go a couple of times, it's crap, and then you just don't go back. And that's something we're really bad in Britain. Like, we don't give feedback. Like, so my wife's European, she's from Czech Republic, big into hockey.
And
we go out to a restaurant and it's crap, and she'll call the guy home and say, you need to tell the kitchen this is crap. And I'm like, oh God, I got to do this. And that's a bit of a problem in our country, is that, if you don't get it right, people won't tell you.
That's the thing. I'm always like asking, what do you think? Like, be clear to the people we're working with. Like, I want to make this better. If you're afraid of telling me something because it would upset me, it actually upsets me more if there's a problem and you don't tell me. I try to be very clear on that and say, like, what is like something that you're afraid to say to me? And that's kind of just removed. Like, I want to, a lot of the things that you have right now is because somebody else has said, Jack, I don't quite understand this. Even just questions as well. Like, what's this? Like, I don't understand this. You get asked that question 2 or 3 times. I'm the common factor, so fix it. Feedback's huge.
Absolutely. And like, you don't want to be in a position where you feel like people have like a lack of trust, or they can like come and like actually speak to you openly about like fixing an issue. That's a massive thing. I
always hated that, like, coaching a group of athletes and being like, does everyone understand? Is everyone like, what I've explained is kind of difficult. Does everyone understand?
They don't.
They're just like, and then you go off and you're like, they obviously didn't understand. Am I too scary for someone to say, I'm sorry? Or is there like that peer pressure thing?
There is.
I don't want to think, am I the only one who didn't get that? I'm going to look like an
classic,
idiot.
It was in school. That's what turned it around for me in maths. Like, I was like bottom of the class in maths, and then one year, I don't know what it got into me. I was like, fuck it. Like, I just started asking questions for anything, like, all the time. Hand was always up, and then got an A. And then did it at uni, just because I started asking questions and stopped caring about like what other people think. It's hard. It's hard to do that though.
I think that in high school, it's very hard to do. But I realized it with trying to learn Czech with my wife. Like, I remember sort of thinking, like, I can kind of answer that, but I know I can't do it perfectly, so I'm not going to do it until I can do it perfectly. And then having this thought in my head, like, no one starts everything perfectly. Like, how good were you
problematic perfectionism. That's one of our things.
How good were you at English when you started? You were awful. It's just that you were a little kid and you don't remember it. Like, everyone starts everything crap. And you just have to allow yourself to do that. And I think I would say again, like in rowing, because no one really rowed, most people don't row before the age of sort of 12, 13. We all remember being crap. And I think that's something you don't get in other sports. Some skiing, like skiing, whatever, in France, they learn when they're 3. So by the time they're 6, they're amazing at skiing. And then they don't have patience with people who are learning later on. Whereas I've seen in rowing, like, obviously in the college system, I've got some brand new ones. I've got some helping them out that learned 2 years ago. There is a lot more patience in the sport, because I remember being crap at this.
Yeah.
And I
like
think,
driving as well, maybe as well.
Yeah.
Like, well, most of the time I'm patient if there's a learner driver in front, but
because you're like, we've all been bad.
Remember it well. That's a good point. Yeah.
It's key. Like, so what did you say? Like the thing you said about perfection?
Oh, problematic perfectionism is just, the kind of our steps and like system and stuff like that of like solving people's problems that we work with. But like, whether people are aware of it or not, it's like problematic perfectionism is like, it's a great thing to have. But you're just trying to perfect the wrong things and trying to perfect the outcome, perfect external factors. But for us, it's like use that drive, channel that drive, and perfect the process.
I love that.
Use that perfectionism in the right direction.
Well, the one we used to say was good is the enemy of great, but perfection is the enemy of progress.
Yeah, don't let perfect get in the way of good. Is one thing that JT actually said that all the time. The guy I used to train with. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, so like with your clients, do you also take on athletes and rowers who are currently part of a program or a system that they're...
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Some people will be fully on with us, however many sessions they want to do a week, they can fit in. Some people will have, often actually, people will have like a Saturday morning crew that they go out and we work around that. Like we do everything fully custom as well. So like whatever their schedule is, we just fit it into that. And then we do have some people that aren't looking for any programming, but they're looking for technical mindset is the main one. And they're in a crew and stuff like that. They're on another training program. And
have you ever like locked heads with their coach?
No.
Come down and said, "Oh, well, my online coach said that I should."
Yeah. No, I haven't, because that's the last thing I want to do is put the athlete in that position. I say at the start when I'm working with another coach, I'm like, 2 coaches can be worse than no coaches. So like, I'm here to work around you. This is the additional stuff. The last thing I want is me going and like, tell me what your coach is saying, because I don't want to be like, online I'm limited. I can't, you have to go in person. So whether we disagree about the finish, what they're doing at the finish, it's like, work around that.
So it's like sometimes with the athletes, the college athletes, oh, we're going to do this, we're trying this, we're doing that. And it's like, but I watched on YouTube that, Morgan Byron Williams said that we should do that. Like, no, you can't just like snapshot. Like
that's exactly what I was like wondering about. Like, how do you deal with someone, for example, rowing for Thames Rowing Club and being on a program and then, doing however many sessions they do a week, say they do 12, like how do you then fit into this? Do you give them like advice for their current training or for like extracurricular, or how does that play out?
Yeah, well, in those cases when people are in full-time programs, it's mainly mindset. Well, it's probably like 50% mindset, maybe like 60% mindset, 30% technique, and then maybe some 10% stuff on like recovery and warm-ups and stuff like that. But the mindset stuff is certainly huge, but
it's the individual stuff that you won't get from that program. Like, it's a great program, but they've got that many athletes to look after. And I think it's something I see in other sports, or certainly in America, like the thing of having a life coach, a mindset coach, or a personal coach seems to be like a lot more the done thing.
Yeah.
Not an issue, even if they're part of a squad or a different sport. A lot of athletes will have their own thing of that, and I think that's something we probably could do better in this country.
Yeah, like it makes sense. Like obviously when you're coaching a group of 60 or 70 athletes, like you don't have the time to improve someone's mindset individually when they're part of a program. But if, for example, you can provide that service to them online and they can get it custom for them because they want to improve, and that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Obviously, like Paul Stannard isn't going to have time to listen to what happened on the weekend or like what struggles he might have, but that's where like someone like you can obviously like come in and change that or turn it around for that person.
Yeah, and there's so many, the training window for most people, 12 sessions a week, it's like 12, 18 hours a week. There's so many more hours in the week when they're thinking about things and they're recovering, and the pressure is there, and other friction points are coming in. So it's just trying to find all the ways that we can improve and just getting obsessed with like what are other areas and identify them, and it's different for everybody else.
I like it when you see them get obsessed.
Yeah,
like that point when you see that click in their head of like,
fixation. Yeah,
it's like I can force people to train harder, or I can deliver a program which makes them fall in love with sport, and then they're coming to me and asking for more sessions.
Yeah,
and I just that click when they're like, oh, I love this. Like watching an athlete, like we used to do filming during the session, and then we'd airdrop it all to them, and then seeing them just like, just like
seeing the improvement,
down the rabbit hole.
that was like the earliest memories of like coaching for me. It was like I started off with beginners, so like the first time you see the look on, especially with like kids and stuff, like 11, 12-year-old, like the first time they see like, oh, they take the blades out square or something like that, and they're like, like just like it's priceless, you know. And it's like, it's pretty cool getting to be a part of helping people like really grow and make changes and stuff like that. It's just so fulfilling.
So what do you see edge rowing in the future, in the close future, in the distant future?
We'd like to, you know, expand probably our coaches, possibly 3 coaches maybe. I don't know. I really don't know. We're just, again, fairly short term in what we're doing day to day, and just keep being certain that we keep focused on what has worked and focused on improving what has worked, and just keep doing that and just seeing where it goes, and not getting shiny object syndrome. I've had like a few coaching offers and stuff like that in person, maybe on the side, which would be cool, or, you know, maybe doing more just purely like just doing technical stuff for like a kind of club and stuff like that. And like, they just, you know, this is what we do, this is what we focus on, we work with busy professionals, like this is our process, and this is what we do, and we just keep doing that basically. And that, I think I maybe sometimes didn't appreciate the impact sometimes that making good content can have as well. And obviously we're pretty limited on how many people we can work with, so a big part of it is like putting really good content out there as well. And you know, you get some messages from people like talking about how the mindset stuff or the training stuff has really helped them. So for me, the vision is trying to make like an impact in sport where the culture around it has changed. You hear it, like it's everywhere. You hear it like West Coast of America, someone in a school or something like that is really struggling with a really toxic environment and stuff like that, and help them through that. But like, look, I just want to make it as good as possible as well. And like, there was one moment actually that was really cool. We've got a physio that works with us, and in the Scottish Institute of Sport, or maybe at Leander or GB even, like you've got physio, but they're so busy they can't really like reply instantly. So like, you get injured on a Saturday afternoon, no chance Sunday, Monday if you're lucky, Tuesday maybe, you know, 3-4 days before you're getting seen to. And we had somebody get injured Saturday morning, you know, immediately texted me. I spoke to the physio, got them seen in the afternoon, they're getting seen to by a physio. And that was kind of like one of the moments where I was like, we can really make this like better than, you know, international programs. I want to make it better than that, and have the support better, have more things figured out better, and make, you know, it'd be what one of the aims is to have it in a position where somebody who, you know, whether it's the first time they're going rowing, they're just picking up the sport, or they want to win ahead of the Charles, or they want to move up 3 places in their age category ahead of the Charles or whatever, or they're trying to get to the Olympics. It's like this, they should be questioning their situation and saying like, if I want to get to my full potential, then edge rowing's the path for it. But then also, you know, make the content and the stuff that's out there like that as well.
I love that. I think you guys are absolutely smashing it at edge rowing, and I can't wait to see that where it goes. What are like some of the most unexpected things that came with this online coaching?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. Unexpected?
Most surprising?
Yeah, you know, maybe like the community and stuff like that is maybe one of them. Like how much people like bond together online. But to be honest, I don't know. Like, I mean, I coach people. Like, I've always loved coaching. Get good results, and I'm like, you know, make a living off of it. Like that's like super privileged. Like I love what I'm doing. Like, yeah, it's a good. Maybe I need to go and think about that one.
Well, maybe having a good debate with Zeidler, Eric Murray.
Oh yeah,
those kinds of things.
Maybe
Speaking to athletes like that, did you ever think that would?
Oh no, no. Eric Murray commented on one of my posts, and he's like, let's go. And like, maybe I was like, so yeah, maybe that. So
and you were the one with the face.
Yeah.
I would have been,
yeah. And then Ollie, he was great to work with and stuff. He kind of like mentored our athletes and stuff. So that was cool.
We need to get him on a podcast when he's over in the UK.
Yeah, he's doing Henley, I think. Oh no, Henley's gone. Yeah, sorry, I'm losing track of time. Yeah.
Working, obviously self-employed there, working.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
There's no track of time when you're self-employed. What are weekdays?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the most surprising thing is. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
And maybe that's a testament to you that the program, what you're doing is working really well, because there were no surprises.
Yeah,
it's going the way you wanted it to go.
I heard that you shouldn't celebrate like big wins or be surprised by them. We're working hard, we're putting this amount of effort in. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. Why should I be shocked or surprised? So yeah.
Yeah, one good quote I heard is put so much work into it that it would be unreasonable for it to not work. Yeah, or it's something like put so much work into it that would be unreasonable to not be successful. It's just if you've done this much, it's how could you just not work? So yeah, I mean, I've just maybe a surprise is how much I've grafted with it, how many hours I put into it, how fixated and stuff I've got into it, and working, there's flexibility around it, but lots of long days and stuff. But yeah, I always knew, I was I would love that if I could coach online and work with, the athletes that we want to work with, and get an income to do it. I'm laughing.
It must be also great to keep finding new limits also outside of rowing, and a new discipline, and keep breaking through new ceilings, new barriers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's with running, running a business, one thing I learned is trying to figure out there's no rules, and you have to do it your way, and you have to take the first steps and make, as I'm sure you guys are aware, make your own decisions and go you can't look to external factors. You have to do what you think is best and just go with it, and just use your gut and just go full gas.
That's one of the best things I think about being self-employed. I hear most people who have jobs, they're always we could do this better. This could be better, but my manager doesn't want to do it. And when you work for yourself, you're you think something could go better, make a change. If it doesn't go better, change it back. And you just have a lot more you can progress a lot quicker because you're just working through things. I reckon maybe if we did that would help. And then you just do it. You don't have to convince someone else. Or, I think that's one of the benefits.
Yeah, being my own boss. Yeah, I just I can't. I've heard of a lot of work environments which are great for some people, but for me, I'm just I don't. Yeah, it's not for me.
Not enough spontaneity or variety or things like that. I just like to improve many different things. For me, working in a normal job couldn't work because I just don't want to be stuck doing one thing. I want to apply myself at different things. It's even the same with your coaching. Some of it it's mindset, some of it it's technique, some of it it's performance, process, etc. Different things, and it kind of strokes all the entire spectrum of the things that you like to apply yourself at, or it gives you a chance to improve at multiple things, which you don't often get to find in a traditional work environment, I find.
And it's kind of always you just move everything forward at one point, and that was one thing I think I learned how to do, is get very productive on not trying to do everything at once, but just we're gonna do this today and just move that forward, and then we're gonna do this, and not trying to spread yourself thin. That was one of the hard things I think I initially found about being self-employed, was just there's so many things to do. It's you gotta just one thing at a time. So and then that's what I liked as well, is that I often found I found a task, once it got good, I got bored of it, and then I realized, this actually needs to be caught up with, and I was always excited about the next challenge to make better. So that's
good advice. And keeping your day varied, with any job that you do, don't focus on one thing too long, mix it up a bit.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
No, it sounds like it's going really well, and it's great to hear also the behind the scenes of edge rowing and the direction that you guys are going into, and it's certainly not something that I've seen or in the online sphere, especially in the UK. You guys are definitely the pioneers of the industry, and I think it's going to be really exciting to see how that changes, and maybe potentially decentralizing training and athletes as well. So there can be quite a lot more individualized training, and not so much collective in squads, in groups, etc. Because different things will fit different people, and different people want to have different objectives. So I think it's there's definitely such a big gap in the market for that to kind of appease to those people who want something different. They don't want to follow the traditional way, and why not give it to them?
And for me, it's I see an imbalance between the best advice and the content that's out there for the people that want it. And for me, it's just trying to find the best people, Stephen Feeney, for example, who's literally, he was maybe rowing at the same time as you. Do you know him? Stephen. Really good mindset coach. who's like consulted us as well as our athletes. And then, you know, Dr. Charlie Simpson, physiologist, expert physiologist, like he's consulted us trying to, and then trying to educate the athletes as well. And then just trying to get all these people who have the best, like Robin Williams, who in my opinion, we haven't worked with him yet. But I say we don't know. We might be able to get see if he's interested in working with us. But his YouTube channel, fantastic advice, but like 30 subscribers or something like that. And I'm just like, there's the best coaches, and then this is incredible platform on social media, and it's just not being utilized. And the internet is just it's like so powerful for connection. So that's for me. I'm just trying to get the best thing possible, and we're not there yet. I don't think we ever will be. But just try and get it to the people that want it, that want to have, you know, and they won't be able to sacrifice. Shouldn't say sacrifice, but they want their training window, 40 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, 120 minutes a day, to be totally like focused and make sure that they've got everything taken care of for them in that window. So
you can rarely ever, no matter how many times you go out on the water, take the perfect stroke. So there's always things to improve, and like you said, there's never going to be perfect, but I'm sure you're going to get as close to that as possible.
So many like crossovers for sure.
This has been absolutely great. I guess we just got to finish off with some quick fire round questions.
Okay, all right, here we go. Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So you've been training, I guess you've been involved with rowing for like over a decade. What are some of your favorite training, racing venues that you've been to, visited, or raced at?
Okay, the locks up in Scotland are like stunning, and like it's just they're hard to get to because there's no boating facilities and they're protected, so there's no motorized launches. But we rode up there with Edinburgh Uni. They go up there quite frequently. It's a good attraction to Edinburgh Uni actually, is like the chance to go and row in these locks that nobody gets to row on. That's probably one of the coolest places. I've rowed in Italy before in one of the lakes there. But yeah, I'd say one of the.
Where is it?
No, it was Lago di Iseo. That's really nice. But I think honestly, like some of the locks.
Stick local. Absolutely.
I think in terms of venue, Henley is unreal, obviously. But for me, I think maybe the locks, and that's one thing we want to maybe try and go and do some training up there. For some UK guys.
Why not?
Why
not? Cool. So another question I like to ask is, if you were to do one event again, rowing event, when you're 60, 70, or like repeat one race that you've done, what would it be?
It's such a cop-out, but I think Henley. Like when we did the Prince of Wales quad, when we were so bad at the start, and then we progressed so quickly. Not so quickly. We made good steps on, and we had some real, like our best races were at Henley, and we just beat a crew that we never thought we were going to come close to. And it was just like, that was so fun. I think that rowing experience that summer, maybe. But I haven't done Head of the Charles. I'd like to maybe crawl down that course one time.
Okay.
Kind of in retire. I thought about doing it this year, but I'm like, nah, not this year. Maybe
you need to give some time to get fit again.
Absolutely.
Well, I did a 6:19 2K actually. I'll have you know.
Okay.
Really? Good. Nice.
The base is there.
Keeping your hand in.
Sweet.
The one I like asking is, if you could travel back in time to the point at which you really fell in love with rowing, like really caught the bug, and you could travel back in time and speak to that kid, what advice would you give?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably like, it's so hard though, because when I fell in love with it, the advice, like I felt in my mindset was at a really good place. Like then, and I was so enthusiastic, so obsessed with it. It was like, fast forward like 2 years from there, when I was like that's when I maybe should have had, if I could step in there and say something. But I think, don't recognize that, enjoy the moment of it, I think, and enjoy the improvement, and the improvement from your first stroke to your second stroke feels the same as your improvement from your millionth stroke to your millionth. Like when the boat picks up and flies, like it feels the same whether you're a novice or whether you're about to race the Olympic final. So just enjoy that, and don't feel like your happiness is in the end goal. And I think just maybe more appreciate the satisfaction that I was getting from improvement. I still liked it, and I think that was what I was hooked on, but I maybe just wasn't aware of it as much. So that's good advice.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So last quick fire round question. is, who are some of your rowing idols or people you've looked up to the most during your career?
Okay, yeah. Well, first off, Helen Glover for sure. I mean, she got me into the sport.
Shout out, we'd love to get her on.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. So she was the inspiration to get in. So that's again a powerful thing to sport. Yeah, who knows? I might be here if that didn't happen. But and then back when I was getting into the sport and Googling like, oh, what's their height? I found Joe Sullivan, who was 5'10". And I was like, yes, somebody who's shorter than me. So they were, I was like, and like, his technique was still good, but like Olympic final level, gold in the double scull wasn't good, just pure grit, which was cool to see. Somebody who had, who didn't have the quote right metrics or whatever. So they were one of them. And then Ricky Walsh for sure. He definitely was like, he wasn't a rower, but I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for him. For rower in the rowing world. But yeah, my dad and my wife as well, of course. That's the cheesy stuff. But I wouldn't be where I got to as well if it wasn't for them. And then who else? So you said one. I'm giving you like
no. The list.
Everybody
going.
Ask me who I wasn't motivated by. That'll be a shorter list maybe. But
who weren't you motivated by?
No, yeah, no.
Come on, you gotta say it now.
Oh, that's a good question. Some coaches that maybe I didn't like. Maybe one of them. Yeah. We can just leave that in. You can leave that in, but I didn't say anything. But yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I like it when somebody. Oh, actually, yeah. One of my first coaches told me that I was too short to make it. They didn't tell me, but I heard that they said that to somebody else.
Fuels like the fire.
I love that.
And I love that. I didn't drop out of university because in my first year, my cousin said that he's like, Jack, come on, you're not going to do university. Like, you're not going to make it. And I was like, you know what? Even if I don't want to do this thing, like, I'm going to do it because you said I couldn't.
Yeah.
So when somebody says to me, I love it when someone tells me I can't do something. Because it's a fire in my belly.
Yeah.
At one point, I had some friends would literally use it against me. Like, I went around my mate's house and he'd be like, oh, I need some help, like, fitting the bathroom or whatever. Or I need some help, like, fixing my car. They're like, I don't think we're going to get it done today.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean we're not getting it? It's like, Tom, listen, Tom, there's no way we're getting this car fixed today. Boom, it's like 11 p.m. I'm still at the like, we're doing it today. So like, if you want to get something done, just tell Tom you can't do it.
Yeah, that's good.
Even today, like we were doing servicing the eggs at Edinburgh Uni, and then Tom, I challenged Tom to do something that I didn't think he could do, and then he finished it all sweaty, and then he looked at me and he was like, "Don't tell me what you can't do."
Yeah. What did you say? What did you say?
It was just one of the jobs we were doing. We had it all laid out, so it's going to fit the bungee in the machine 2023, and he was just like, I was just like, do you reckon I could do it in under a certain time? And he was like, well, you could probably do it in this time, but not that time. And I was like, I'm not interested in doing it in the time you think I can do it.
Yeah.
I want to do it in the time you don't think.
Yeah, that's boring. Yeah, I love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe a bit too vengeful with that sort of thing, but I enjoy that stuff too much.
Yeah, that's the competitive natures of rowers.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, this has been absolutely great, Jack. Thank you so much for coming out to see us, and hopefully we can speak again in the future, or potentially like bring some of your other coaches and organize like a panel session as well.
That'd be cool. Yeah, we had spoke about that with some of like kind of our like consultants, we call them and stuff, like some of the specialists that were like, well, Stephen, they're doing their own thing, but they help out with some of the stuff we're doing. So Stephen and Charlie, and then we've got it's not rowing specific, but like time management specialist Claire. She's like really good. Yeah,
awesome.
Our physio, we can maybe do.
It'd be wicked. I think like I said, we're both sort of really like what you're doing in the sport, and like it's a really interesting way to go through it. And I think we've all been part of a program where we haven't been the focus, or we haven't had what we got from it. So like to see that you're giving that to athletes, I think is really cool. So it'd be exciting to see what comes next. And next time we're up in Scotland, we'll give it a shout.
Yeah, for sure. And next time I'm down in London as well.
Same time.
Yeah.
Nice one. So best of luck with edge rowing. And on that note, easy there.
Cue the music.